All right, what's up y'all? I'm Chef Brandon Allen with Trichome Institute, and if you're catching this video later on, the first thing I can say is to subscribe to Trichome Institute's newsletter at trichomeinstitute.com so you can get notified of what time, I guess when and what time are the same thing, so when the streams are gonna happen and what ingredients to get so you can cook along at home. So we're gonna be cooking with cannabis, as you can see here, and also focusing on the recipe development of this entire process at the same time. So the whole goal here is to teach you about cooking with cannabis, teach you about cooking, infuse the two together, and have a friggin' awesome time. So today I'm going to be making some infused bacon fat. So that's where the cannabis side of the equation is gonna come into, that we're gonna use to cook some low and slow scrambled eggs, which are gonna be great with our breakfast taco. And then we're gonna have some crispy bacon. We're gonna make a roasted jalapeno salsa. Basically, it's kind of like a normal salsa, but a ton of jalapenos to get a little extra spice there. And with that, we've got some fresh jalapenos, some mini bell peppers, because I had them. It wasn't on the ingredients list, but I had to get them going. Let's see here. We've got some heirloom cherry tomatoes, and then we're gonna do a really simple, fresh slaw. And based off of, you know, the feedback, I'm not sure whether we're gonna do like a mayo-based slaw or we're gonna do a vinegar-based slaw. What else are we doing? Oh, and some linalool, which is a terpene infused crema. I mean, it's not really infused. Think of terpenes as an ingredient. So we're gonna get some sour cream, throw some other ingredients in there, and some linalool to really like bring out that floral flavor, which just pairs perfectly with cream. So let's see, our timer's at just under 3 minutes left to go here before we get started. I'm gonna give some of y'all a chance to get your stream, your stream. It's my stream. Get your shit in order so you can join me here. For anyone who has joined already, one thing I can say to do is to get your mise en place together. Get all of your ingredients like ready to go. And we'll dive into that as soon as we get started here in a few minutes. So hang tight, and I'm gonna make sure everything is good on my end. Hey Adam, I already see that you're on chat there over on what appears to be YouTube. Adam, does the vocal audio, is the level good with the background music? Just give me a thumbs up there if that's working, and we'll be in good shape. And on my end, I'm gonna make sure that all of my tech nonsense is good to go. Looks like we're live on Facebook, subtitles are working. It looks like we are live on YouTube, that's working. Let's go over here to Twitch. Looks like we are good to go on Twitch. Hey, Chef Gigi, I just let you know about this, and here you are. Awesome, good to have you. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so we're just gonna hang out for a minute, let everyone get their stuff together, and then we will get started here. So enjoy the royalty-free tunes in the background while I go through and make sure that I've got all my shit together. Oh, this is age restricted, just so y'all know. I don't know if that matters to anyone, but I know YouTube was gonna age restrict it anyway, so whatever. Grab a drink, grab your coffee. It's morning for some, it's afternoon, past lunchtime for others. You know, I'm not sure how many people have off on a Friday or midday to be able to join and do this, but you know, we'll see. We'll probably do these on different days of the week just to see, do it on the weekend as well, and you know, see what kind of traffic we get here. Okay, Twitch is still good. YouTube looks to be good. Facebook. All right. Everything is looking fine. All right, we got 33 seconds left, so let me adjust this camera over here back to where it needs to be. Get that out of the way. Let's do a quick little camera slideshow here. Okay, so we have our front-facing camera now without that little thing in the way, so that's good to go. This is our overhead camera for the cutting board. I hope all of y'all can see that and it looks clear. This will get out of the way once I do proper intros here. We've got our oven cam / weird foot cam, okay, for all you creeps out there. And then we've got, so this is a different camera setup. You know, I'm super OCD, as I hope all of you are in your kitchen. So when it comes to cleaning as you go, that mise en place concept is beyond just food. There's a lot of times where I'm sitting here and I'm, you know, facing here. So now at least I have a camera that I can kind of somewhat turn to while I'm scrub-a-dub-dubbing. So that is a new camera angle. But let's bring you back here. Okay, so let's see. Looks like we're all set to go here. Got a few y'all hanging out. Let me see what YouTube is looking like. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna close out of Facebook because I believe, so I figured out this new chat feature. So, okay, for all you tech dorks out there, I will show you at the end of the stream what I'm streaming through, which is allowing me to go to multiple platforms. But the thing that I go to second has a chat program that shows you where they're coming from, which is kind of cool. So I'm gonna get rid of Facebook because it should be popping up. Hey, if anyone's on Facebook, just shoot a message and say, hey, I'm on Facebook, to make sure it comes through this one little spot here. So cool. All right, let's dive in, folks. So welcome to the first Trichome specific Cooking with Cannabis live interactive Q&A, whatever. We're hanging out, we're cooking, okay? I'm gonna go over the menu, and then I'm gonna go over some of the equipment and talk about everything that I have in front of me. So as I'm going through here, if you don't have ingredients, if you're cooking along from home, you know what to go grab quick and make sure you have easily accessible. Okay, so let's go over our ingredients list. First thing we definitely have is bacon, okay? This is gonna be the first thing that we actually get cooking with because it's gonna take not necessarily the longest, but we need to extract the fat out of there so we can use it for our infusion. While that infusion is happening, I'm going to be decarbing our 14 grams, so a ½ ounce of hemp flour, okay? Very specific reason why I'm using hemp flour for this, but you're welcome to use any type of flour you like, just make sure you know your dose, and we'll talk about that as we go along here. So we're gonna have our bacon rendered out for the fat and then crisped up for the breakfast taco. We're doing a low and slow scramble, which is basically just gonna consist of some butter, egg, salt. I've got my salt, pepper, and oil next to my stove over there, and I'll bring it over as needed. We're gonna make a roasted jalapeno salsa. So the bulk ingredient is gonna be jalapeno, and I have some cherry tomatoes. I put tomatoes on the ingredients list because honestly, it doesn't really matter. I like the flavor of the tomato. If you have Roma tomato, if you have beef steak tomato, I don't care what it is, have fun with it. If it's something where it's a little bit, it's not sweet enough and you need to add a little bit of sugar or honey or something, if that's what you care for your fresh salsa, go for it. But with the amount of jalapenos we're gonna throw in here, they're gonna be the dominant flavor regardless of what type of tomato you have. Think of the tomato as it's a carrier, it's flavor, but it's bulking up the salsa and also diluting some of the spice. I have some mini bell peppers here that I have to use, so I'm throwing them. Look at this, the hoedown's coming on. I have like this whole list of royalty-free music. Listen for a second. And usually this always pops up at the end, but it's in the beginning. So enjoy the hoedown. Okay, so we've got some cilantro. Now, I told you all to get some purple cabbage for the fresh slaw. And I don't know if we're gonna do a vinegar base or a mayo base. We're gonna figure that out together. At Whole Foods, they only had giant red cabbage and I didn't want to get that much. So I got some radicchio, which is gonna have a very similar texture. I think radicchio has a little bit of a spicier flavor. I don't really eat it that often, but I'm gonna use this instead. If you got any type of cabbage, that'll do. We've got some scallions or green onions here that we're going to use for the salsa. We're gonna use it as a garnish and yeah, salsa and garnish. Let's see here. I'm doing my taco on one of these egg wraps because they're like next to no carb. What is it? Yeah, no carbs, which is amazing. I don't care what type of tortilla you want, do what you like. And then we've got some sour cream and some linalool, which we're going to use for our crema, okay, linalool crema. Now, if you're cooking along at home, make sure you're getting all of your ingredients out as you're listening when I'm talking about getting the bacon going and you know, talking about decarboxylation. If you're gonna join future streams, have your mise en place set to go. Have every bit of equipment that you need easily accessible. Now I've got all my utensils right here, easy to grab. I've got tasting spoons and different things. And in the sense of outside of ancillary equipment, my primary equipment that I'm using is basically going to be this. This is a 9-inch chef's knife. Now this is nothing fancy intentionally, okay? I wanted to show you, and some of the chefs that are on here will understand this, how much you can do with one simple knife, okay? This is nothing fancy. This is a $45 knife from Amazon. This was actually in my culinary kit, my knife kit from culinary school. The brand is Mercer, M-E-R-C-E-R. If you're looking for a solid, really inexpensive, but quality chef's knife, these range from 6 to 10 inches and they're really inexpensive. They are far from cheap. They're inexpensive. So I'm gonna use my culinary school knife, not my, you know, fancy custom made cannabis knife here, because whatever, we're just gonna stick to this. In the sense of other equipment, I've got mise en place containers here to be able to put my prep into. I've got everything I need for my cannabis infusion and my infusion, or my beakers, which I use. I've got larger mixing bowls up here. I've got a sheet tray here ready for the bacon. Everything is good to go. I've got my oven preheated, and then I have a cast iron, which is what we're gonna use for the eggs. If you don't have cast iron, please use a metal pan or pot, okay? If you don't have either and you only have non-stick, that'll work. You'll be totally fine. You're not gonna get the true low and slow creamy texture of the eggs, which I'll explain as we go through here, but you'll still get really good eggs if you keep the heat low and you got a shit ton of butter. Okay, in the sense of additional equipment, an oven, toaster oven, or air fryer will work for everything that we're doing here. I have my air fryer in the back there, and that's that. Okay, so let's make sure that we've got some people hanging out and watching. Hey, would anyone on Twitch care to say hi so I know that your comments are coming through? And by hi, say H-I-G-H, get it? Okay. All right, so let's dive in here. The first thing I need to get going is the bacon. So I'm just gonna grab a sheet tray here. Sometimes when I'm cooking bacon, what I like to do is put a baker's rack over the tray. In this case, I'm trying something different that I just saw on an Instagram reel, and we're gonna see what happens here. I'm gonna try it two ways, and because I was just watching and saw how they did it, and they fast forwarded because it's a reel, and I have a feeling it didn't go as smoothly as they intended. So this is what I'm gonna do here. Let's get a little split screen action. Hey there, Robro. Oh, nope, cancel. Let's go to split screen. Let's bring one over here. Which one is it? There we go. All right, so yes, I'm able to control these cameras just by a couple buttons. It's freaking awesome. Okay, so what they did is they twirled the bacon, and the way I'm gonna put some gloves on here just to minimize time between me chatting and doing dishes and all that jazz. Essential, okay? I think these things are essential, especially if you're working with cannabis. When you get sticky resin all over your hands, it is a pain in the ass to get off. So, all right, so what do they do on the TikTok or reel? Or I don't do TikTok, it was a reel. Okay, so what they did is they took this bacon. Ooh, I think that's how I could do it. And the way they did it is they kind of swirled it like this. And that's a pain in the ass. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go like this. Oh, I love it. I don't even need to use a skewer. So they swirled it around. I didn't see them do that. They were literally like going like this. Okay, so take your bacon, all right? Whether you have thick cut might be a little bit harder. This is awesome. All right, and we're gonna swirl this up. Now, in the recipe that they featured, what they did was they covered this with some brown sugar and different things. I'm not a sugar person. But what I thought was brilliant about this process is that, and make sure your bacon's not all wet, that way you're not throwing bacon juice everywhere. So what they did was they crisped this up and they caramelized that sugar on top of it, and it got really crunchy and firm. Now, I want this crunchy and firm, but I also want to render the fat out. And generally speaking, if you have the bacon that's closer together, I've noticed that when you're rendering fat out, it actually, you can render it out, cooking it longer without crisping it up too much or overcooking it. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just giving these guys a little swirl. The thing that I thought that was so cool about this bacon backflip, hell yeah, hashtag bacon backflip. The thing I thought was so cool about this was that if I was just putting these on the sheet tray, I would be halfway through, at least halfway through by now. So this is going to allow us to save space on our sheet tray. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. So just so y'all know who are tuning in from Trichome Institute, I have been streaming on and off on Twitch for like 3.5, 4 years. For about 2 years when I was living in San Diego, I was doing it quite often. So I've got some folks over here on Twitch that are probably used to hanging out. Then I moved and had bad internet. Then I moved to another place and I had a bad kitchen. And then my wife and I, we bought a motorhome during COVID, and we were traveling around the country in a motorhome, which was fun. I had terrible internet and a terrible kitchen, so I was not streaming for a while. So anyway, we sold the motorhome, just got into this really nice house that we're renting here. And is anyone doing this, by the way? I think some of you said that you might be actually cooking along from home. Is anyone sitting in their kitchen right now flipping bacon around, or are y'all just hanging out? Anyway, so I was streaming for a while, I stopped, and then we sold our motorhome, and now I can stream again. So here's the deal. Although I'm representing Trichome Institute here, and technically the American Culinary Federation, because we're promoting this with the Cooking and Cannabis course, which I'll explain in a little bit. Here's the deal. I am not the best chef in the world, but I know a good amount about food. I know a lot about cannabis, so I like combining the two together. And when I stream on here, I am super honest with the food that I make. If I mess something up, I'm gonna tell you. Ooh, that's a thick one. Oh, there we go. If I mess something up, I'm gonna tell you. If something doesn't come out as it should, I'm gonna tell you. If I can recover from something, we're gonna do it together. And I always critique my food at the end. And the reason why I think that's important is I could easily, through a stream here, just be like, oh, this is amazing, it's perfect, oh my God. Well, what if you then go out and do that same exact thing that I did and it sucks? Because I lied. Well, now you're gonna think that your food is not good. So I don't like that. So with my streams, like I said, if I mess something up or it doesn't taste right, I'm gonna tell you why, and we're going to be honest with one another. Okay, great watching you all. Hungry AF. Robero. Good to have you. Okay, bacon, 350 degrees. Now, I'm gonna set my timer so I don't forget. I'm gonna set it for 15 minutes. It's probably not gonna be enough, but you know, I'm gonna let that go just as a reminder. We'll check it in 15. I wanna have a lot of fat. I'm probably not gonna have enough fat to do a proper infusion with 14 grams of flour, ½ ounce of flour. But what I am going to be able to do is add another fat source to it. So I've got butter, which is not ideal for what I like to do, but I've got olive oil, I've got MCT oil, avocado oil. I don't know if I have any ghee, which I should. Let's see here. I have some tallow that is not finished yet, but I may be able to use some of it to supplement. Anyway, we're gonna figure it out. So, does everyone have their bacon in the oven? Please let me know if your bacon is in the oven. What just happened to my music? Oh, it's one of those easy breezy slow starters. Okay, going right into the dishwasher. Keeping it clean. Okay, I'm gonna put the knife off to the side here. Now, while my bacon fat is rendering, what I want to do is get my cannabis prepared for decarboxylation. Now I got my little cheat sheet here. Here's the deal. I'm going to talk about decarboxylation as if it doesn't matter whether I'm using hemp or marijuana, okay? High CBD, high THC, 1-to-1, it doesn't matter, okay? And the reason why is the temperature and time that I recommend for decarbing flour comes from a recommendation from the Mississippi University with their pharmaceutical department. They did some decarb studies. They had it in a vacuum setting and it didn't apply to a kitchen oven setting. So I reached out to them, had a couple email exchanges, and they basically said, like, your study's great. How does that apply to a home cook? And what they said is that 200, now let me back up, pause. I'm gonna be doing some giveaways today. I'm gonna be giving away a Cooking with Cannabis course. I'm gonna be giving away another cooking or another cannabis related course from Tricom. So 2, maybe more courses, I don't know, we'll see. I'm also gonna be giving away the new filter press from Magical Butter, which is not even released yet, but I got one. I'm gonna be giving one away. You might not get it until after 420 when they officially release it, but I'm gonna show you how this works today, and I'm gonna be giving one of them away. So there's gonna be some things that I mentioned with numbers and times and sciencey technical crap that you might wanna take little notes on, because at the end of the stream is when I'm gonna be, when I'm like stuffing my taco in my mouth, is when I'm gonna be having little quiz questions. Whoever gets them right will basically get the free shit. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, so I'm talking about hemp and marijuana regardless, and what they told me is that 266 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, almost every single cannabinoid will decarb efficiently, except for THCAB, which is like so there's not enough in the flour. Don't even worry about it. Shouldn't even said anything. But what I have here to break this down in the sense of flour and dosing and whatnot, I have 14 grams, which is a ½ ounce of hemp flour. Now, this hemp flour is 13.1% CBD, as in total decarb from the lab test, not CBDA or just CBD. It's the total decarb of those combined. And it's 0.572% THC. So what does that mean? In here, I've got 1,834 milligrams. You're not gonna get quizzed on this. I'm just breaking it down so you can understand what goes into the math here. I've got 1,834 milligrams of CBD and 22.88 milligrams of THC. So here's the deal. Whenever you're doing a flour infusion, it is impossible to calculate your dose. Absolutely impossible. Because the lab tests that represented this flour was not this flour. We don't know what part of the plant they plucked these flowers from, what plant they picked, the healthiest plant, who knows? They picked generally the best of the best to get tested, but we don't know what the total or even the average CBD or THC percentage is in here. So a lab test that comes with flour when you do an infusion is completely irrelevant, okay? Then the other thing is I'm gonna break down my recommended dose for working with flour, but at the end of the day, you're never gonna know your dose. It's that simple. It doesn't matter what you're using. Without a lab test with your infusion, you're never gonna know your dose. But what I do recommend, because there's decarb efficiency, there's extraction efficiency, there's loss here and there, is you basically take your total CBD or THC and you cut it in half. And myself and a lot of other cannabis chefs have played around with this, and some have lab tested, and that's kind of like the rule of thumb with working with flour. Now, I don't recommend serving anyone a flour infusion unless it's been lab tested. Now, whether you're a professional chef or you're cooking at home. Okay, now, if you're cooking for yourself or you've done experiments over and over and you and your friends or guests have the same tolerance, you're good to go, then that's on you. But as playing it safe with this course and with what I'm doing here, it's impossible to know. But that's that. And if I were to do a bunch of experiments and do lab tests, and finally get some type of like thing that works, it still doesn't matter because you don't have the flour I use, the olive oil or MCT oil or heating device or anything. Everything changes. So that's a lot of mouth words there. So basically what we're gonna end up here, if I do my 50% based off of this, we're gonna have 900 milligrams of CBD and 11 milligrams of THC. Now, for the most part, it's generally flipped if you're using marijuana, but let's get going. Now, decarb. I'm gonna get my air fryer preheated here, set to the bake setting at 270 degrees for 30 minutes. That has a preheat. It's gonna let me know when to add the food. I'm gonna take, these are little popcorn, you can see here, little popcorn nugs, super tiny, okay? This is, ooh, wrong way. This is, I believe, greenhouse hemp. It's decent. It doesn't smell amazing, and that's okay, because when it comes to doing an infusion, you want to infuse for cannabinoids, not terpenes, because the second I get this in the oven there, or even a sous vide machine, heat evaporates the terpenes. If you can smell all that beautiful stanky weed decarbing throughout your kitchen, well, if you can smell it, it's left the trichome head. Okay, so decarb for cannabinoid efficiency, not for terpenes. If you want to add terpenes for flavor or aroma to your infusion, do it at the end. But also keep in mind, we'll talk more about this when we get to the linalool, terpenes through digestion are not the same as inhalation. So, there's no such thing as an indica or sativa edible, okay? Or sedative or stimulating edible coming from the cannabinoids. It's all about the cannabinoid dose, coming from the cannabis. It's all about the cannabinoid dose and the other ingredients and maybe the time of the day and other factors that would create a particular effect from an edible. Now, what am I holding here? This is a bulk tea infuser, okay? It's got a bunch of little perforations, okay? On the top, the sides, and on the bottom. This is my favorite thing to decarb in. I've done, in the Cooking with Cannabis course, I have a bunch of breakdowns of all my decarb experiments, from a bowl open to a bowl with heavy foil in it in different containers of what is the best decarb efficiency. And what I found is that when you have a convection style oven, which is the air fryer is convection, it's set to the bake setting, so it's a little bit different, but basically it is a convection oven, which helps keep the air moving so you don't have hot or cold spots in your oven. You have constant heat all moving through. When you decarb flour that is exposed to the direct air of the temperature that's moving, I've got the best decarb efficiency. And by efficiency, I mean least amount of cannabinoid loss, most amount of decarboxylation. There isn't a difference in edibles. Naughty lurk. No, there is if you put a bunch of sugar or caffeine or other things like that in there. I'm just throwing this in the oven here. Timer's good to go for 30 minutes. So as my bacon fat is rendering, I've got my flour decarbing, and I'm gonna be able to then go right into my infusion process, which is gonna be awesome. Okay, so everyone's, there's a bunch of marketing when it comes to edibles, and they say there's indica and there's sativa or hybrid. For flower, indica, what they're saying is more sedative, sativa is what they're saying is more stimulating, and hybrid is a balance. And then there's the dominance, or I'm not gonna get into all of that right now, but we all know, most of us know what that means, okay? So from the sedative to stimulating spectrum of flower through inhalation, that's a real thing. The terpenes play a major role, and there's a reason that high myrcene and linalool and beta-caryophyllene have more sedative effects, where pinene, terpinene, and limonene have more stimulating effects. But that's when you're lighting them on fire, evaporating them, immediately inhaling them, and they're affecting receptors differently because of how they're metabolized and they react through the lungs, okay? When you eat something, when you gotta decarb it, which you're evaporating so many of those terpenes, a lot of them, especially the more volatile terpenes that are the ones that tend to have more of the effect-driven or responsive of effects. So with this, I'm evaporating a lot of those terpenes. Then I'm going to heat it again through my infusion, evaporating even more out. Then I'm gonna swallow them. My stomach is going to totally mess them up. Your stomach acid destroys terpenes. Then the bioavailability, so the amount that you can get in, is significantly reduced. And then what happens is your liver takes each little compound or derivative of the terpenes that get broken down in your stomach, and then metabolizes them into other forms other metabolites or derivatives, okay? And then at the end of the day, do you have enough of what could be an active terpene to have any type of physiological effect? Possibly. But the linalool that you light on fire and inhale is not the same structure as the linalool that you get through digestion, and the dose totally changes. So terpenes through digestion, totally different ballgame. It doesn't mean that terpenes can't provoke physiological effects, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna be the same as inhalation, and the dose required is gonna be needing a lot more. Okay, can everyone let me know if you're on chat that everyone's here, you can hear me, everything's groovy. Say hi. Whew, gotta take a freaking breath after that. All right, let's get prepped here. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my veggies prepared because I'm gonna roast them in probably the oven or the air fryer, whichever, it depends on what gets done first here. Oh, we need a lot more time for our, ooh, I tell you what, it smells like weed in here right now. Again, I'm smelling those terps, so they're evaporating everywhere. They're not coming right down into my lungs. Now, I'm smelling some, so they are to a point, but at very small levels. It's not like lighting it on fire or vaporizing them directly in. Okay, so first thing that we're gonna do, like I said, is get going with our roasted jalapeno salsa. So let's do another, we're already on split screen. Perfect, perfect. Actually, let's just give you a better view. Y'all are probably tired looking at my bald head shining off these lights. So here we go. We are going to get started with let's get started with the peppers first, and then the tomatoes, because they'll make my cutting board a little dirty, and then I can move on. Now, I did not have these mini bell peppers on the ingredient list, so if you don't have them, it's totally fine. Get started on your jalapeno peppers if you're cooking from home, because they're gonna have the same effect, and that way I can go fast. You can see here, this one's a little wrinkly. I'm not worried about it. I wanna use them and you know, don't wanna waste the food. So here we go. What I want you to do is properly hold your chef's knife. For those of you who, hey there, Chef Gigi. For those of you who are not too familiar with holding a knife, the way you hold a knife is not like this. It's not like this. You wanna pinch the base of the blade and let your other 3 fingers wrap around, okay? This gives you the most control over your blade, not this. The only way, or generally the only time you see professional chefs putting their finger out like this is if they're doing something on a weird angle, like a sushi chef, a lot of them have different angles, or if they're using the knife kind of up in the air. But when you're on your cutting board, for the 90+% of the time, you're gonna pinch the base of your blade, other 3 fingers wrap around, you're good to go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the knife on, and then we're going to slide north to south, okay? The reason I say put the knife on first is if you're not used to your blade and you're worried about your little phalanges, that's what you wanna do. Knife on, go around. But if you're used to your knife, you can basically just come through here and you're gonna slice these from north to south. And while I'm doing this, and if you guys are cooking from home, everyone let me know where you're tuning in from. Where are you from? I am in San Antonio, Texas. Probably explains why I'm only using hemp today as well. All right, so now you're gonna take all of your halved little sweet peppers or jalapenos and grab any type of spoon. I like using a straighter edge teaspoon or half teaspoon, and you're basically gonna come in here and you're going to scrape out your seeds, and at the same time you get the seed, you're going to get the stem. And this minimizes your waste and speeds up your time versus just taking the pepper and cutting it in half, or cutting the top off. You get a lot of waste there. And so then you can collect all these in one little simple spot, keep your seeds all together. Adam, you said curl the pointer. What do you mean by curl the pointer? Like curl it around the, ooh, it smells good in here. Not from these peppers, it's from the weed, folks. Curl the pointer like around, like this, you're saying? Like curl it like that? All right. Love the proper gripping of the knife. Thank you, Derek. I actually did go to culinary school. I took it seriously too. I did a apprenticeship with a chef on the Olympic culinary team who is a master chef now, Chef Sean Culp. And you know, I went to culinary school knowing I wasn't going to work in restaurants because of my back issues and knee and wrist and all this other stuff. God, I prepped and then executed a little street taco thing I did for a party 2 Sundays ago. And I was just, my body was shot. 2 days of work and I was just shot. So I do not belong in a commercial kitchen. Anyway, so I went to school to learn about food and then find a way that I could incorporate food into something else I was passionate about. And although I'd been smoking weed for many years, I never really looked at it from a career perspective or cooking with it until I moved to California. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and be a cannabis chef. So what did I do? I tried to be a cannabis chef. It's that simple. And it works. Throw yourself out there. You never know what's gonna happen. Okay, now I'm going to actually slice up my tomatoes next, and then I'm gonna do the jalapeno because I wanna be able to, you know what, I can do the jalapeno next, it's fine. Here's the deal, I have contacts, and I gotta tell you, getting jalapeno oil all over your phalanges, even if you wash them really good, can prove to be very uncomfortable later on in the evening when you are taking your eyeballs out. You did a culinary class in vocational school. That's awesome. I think it should be required. I think that in high school, everyone, or VOTAC, whatever, everyone should have to take a culinary course. Everyone should have to take a course on finances and credit and taxes, like all combined into one. Well, at least those two. I have some other opinions, but we don't need to get into all that. But I definitely think that everyone should have to take a course on basically adulting, you know? Learn how to cook, some basic stuff, and you know, learn how to get your finances in order. Fortunately, my parents helped out with both of those. I took a culinary, or home ec, I guess it was, but home ec wasn't just cooking, it was like a bunch of other stuff when I was in, God, 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that, but no finance courses. All right, we're just throwing these right into this bowl here. Doing the same thing with the jalapeno. You can see that they have a lot more seeds. Sometimes you gotta give a little, ooh. Just inhaled some, shoot, okay. I just inhaled some, ooh, it's literally just squirted me in the face, I can feel it. Some capsaicin, which is the spicy oil in, oh my God, it literally went, maybe I'm just like, whoo, that's crazy. These are spicy jalapenos. I have not, so the reason I got so many is the last couple jalapenos that I bought from the grocery store were not spicy at all. So this is going to be a nicely spiced salsa, which I'm fine with usually, but getting some jalapeno essential oil just right to the back of the throat, not for me. I know some of you are like, wussy, you're right. Sorry if I made anyone's eardrums bleed here with the coughing there. All right, this is a snoozer of a song. Get rid of that one. All right, so I added like another 7 minutes or so to the bacon. So we've got about 2 minutes left on that. We got about 20 minutes left on the decarb, which is perfect. Even if, actually the thing is, the bacon fat's gonna be hot, which is a good thing. And the reason why is because the infusion aspect of this, we wanna make sure you preheat your oil. So if you are making an infusion, you're following along and you're not using bacon fat because you're vegetarian, or maybe you just forgot to get bacon, you're just gonna use olive oil or anything else. Right now, I want you to get your olive oil or any type of fat preheated, okay? Preheat that. You want to bring it to 212 degrees, okay? So set your oven to like 250 or 225, or just if you're doing the bacon and you're going to use supplemental oil, just, you know, throw your stuff in there in a container. And oh, this right here, this is called a bench scraper or a baker's knife. This is one of my favorite tools to have in a kitchen, so you know, because of how quickly it is to be able to clean things up like that. Okay, mise en place. Aside from Chef Gigi, because I know you know, Chef, who knows what mise en place means? What is the French translation, mise en place? I'll take a variance of answers here. Hey Facebook, is there anyone on Facebook hanging out? All right, so I'm gonna keep my glove on just because I was touching all these jalapenos, it's all over here. And we're going to take our tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and we're just gonna cut them in half. And the reason I'm cutting them in half, I could throw these in whole because I'm roasting them, but I'm cutting them in half for a couple reasons. One, I don't want them to explode in my air fryer. Yes, that can happen with a cherry tomato in a higher roasted heat, and it'll just make a mess. So I'm cutting these in half so they don't just burst. And that also bursts like once I take them out. I've had that happen before. Death by cherry tomato is a real thing. I survived it, so it's not death, but close to it. And just like with the peppers, I'm going north to south. Actually, it doesn't really matter. You could even just rough chop these because they're all gonna get, I think we're gonna do a blended, yeah. I think we're gonna blend all of this together at the end and have a nice, like, you know, I don't want a chunky salsa. We already got the slaw, we got fresh cilantro, etc. And I'm just throwing everything into a bowl because we're gonna roast these all together, just like on one sheet tray. It'll be super easy. And I was gonna do this in the air fryer, but I think because I have a little extra here, the space might be a concern. So I'm gonna crank up my oven temperature here in a minute to somewhere around like 450 and really get these roasting. I'm gonna hit these with some olive oil or avocado oil. I think I have both out here. Whatever you guys want me to use. And we're going to let them go as we're getting all the rest of our things prepped here. That which is in place. So imagine that which is in place, maybe the like Google translation. I'll take it though. But in culinary school, they basically say everything in its place is what mise en place means. Everything in its place, which that which is in place is basically, it's the same thing. So kudos to you, good job. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Everyone who's watching right now, everyone who's on, without even a quiz, if you send me a message through, if you go to trichomeinstitute.com, here, let me type it in the chat here. If y'all go to trichomeinstitute.com, which that should have showed up in everyone's chat. I think it did. Maybe not. Twitch, actually Twitch, it's easy, it's my bio link. Go to trichomeinstitute.com, message the little chat bot at the bottom, okay, and just say, hey Brandon, Cannabis for All, okay? Hey Brandon, Cannabis for All. I'm gonna give everyone who's watching a stream today access to our Cannabis for All course. If you already got it, tough, too bad. All right, so I'm gonna get some olive oil here and generously coat our veggies here, all right? Let's bring you all back to this. Cool, all right. Now, I've got some green onions here, and this is gonna be the last of our ingredients, well, almost the last of our ingredients for the salsa. What I want you to do is line up them all so the little hairy root ends there are all even, and we're just going to quickly trim all of them off. Just get them so they're pretty much mostly aligned there. And we're just gonna pop them off and discard. Then, what I want you to do, instead of aligning the tips, now you're gonna align where your first node is, okay? That first split, that first node on all of them. Don't worry about the length here. You're looking at the node. So that one's nice and long. And you can overlap them, just get them so they're even. If you get one that's like really low like that. And what we're doing here is we're separating the majority of the lighter, the white and that lighter pale green to the dark end, okay? We're just gonna go right down the center. And now I'm just gonna rough chop these. And this is our onion. Now, if you don't have enough scallions and you have an onion at home, or green onions, and you want to throw that in there, I would say for something like this, a whole medium-sized onion in here would be great. I mean, if you really like a lot of onion, go for it. And then I'm just gonna take some of these and that have a little bit extra of that paler color and throw it in there. But that's pretty good for now. All right, now we're gonna turn these the other direction. And now we're going to do our best. Actually, this, just go through and trim off the tip of each end. And the reason why is you get the little brown bits that are on there. Simple, easy, any funky ones, just get rid of it, okay? Just give them a nice little trim. They don't look nice. I'm sure it's fine to eat. I washed all these, but you don't want that brown nasty like in your taco or in anything, because it just doesn't look very appealing. And if you want to be super, fine with it and just get the very end and use all of your ingredients, by all means, go for it. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that one. I don't like it. Now I'm gonna put these just away for a little bit. We will cut those up later on. But this is our roasted salsa mixture, okay? So I've got plenty of olive oil. Ooh, lost one. I've got plenty of olive oil on there, which is gonna help get that fat hot and help sear these. Let's come over here and look at our bacon real quick, folks. All right, so not a ton of fat. Ooh, man, I should have got thick cut. You know what? All right, we're making a change. There's not gonna be anywhere near as much fat as what I need for this. I can tell. It's the bacon I had. I should have gotten thick cut yesterday. I was like, you know what, is that bacon gonna work? It's not. So we're gonna do a different type of fat infusion. I'll let you know what fats I have, and that's gonna be used to do it. So anyway, hey, we're still gonna save this bacon juice though. So in the meantime, I'm gonna get this back in the oven. I'm gonna increase my heat a bit here to bake. Let's do 420. Let's do 420. Why not? I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes so I don't overcook that bacon. And then I'm gonna grab another sheet tray here to get our veggies on. Now, you can salt these now if you want, but this is all gonna get blended together. So look how beautiful that is. Isn't that nice looking? I personally think that I personally think that plants are meant for smoking and drinking, but this is beautiful. I dig it. Okay, so let's get this in the oven, roasting. I wish I was gonna, you know what I have? So we might do a tallow, because that'll work for the eggs. If you get enough bacon fat to do this, I say go for it. So let me show you what I've got here. Let me get my cutting board in the sink here, getting a bunch of hot water on it to help get all those jalapeno juices off of it. We've got 9 minutes left on our decarb. Okay, so what do I have here? Clean up a little bit. So, I'm like really crazy with towels as well. I talked about like mise en place. This gray towel, all of the gray towels in my kitchen of this style are for wiping, okay? And then I generally have another towel right on hand, which is for, oops, forgot to click over. I have another towel on hand, which is for my hands, or in drying. It's only clean hands go on here. And then I have other towels that are meant for grabbing things and also for drying, but I only ever have one wipe towel in my kitchen at a time. And then when that wipe towel gets too filthy, it goes to the floor actually. And that's what I use to clean up little bits of water and dog drool when I'm cooking and all that jazz. Okay, so this is beef fat. I made some stock yesterday. Actually, I got an entire New York strip loin and I fabricated it down. I trimmed off all the fat, even the fat cap, because I'm not a huge fan of fat caps on New York strip. Believe it or not, ribeye, love all the fat. New York strip, not so much. So what you see here, that separation is the stock and then the fat that I rendered out. So what I'm gonna do here is combine in the container that I'm going to be doing my infusion with. I'm only gonna scrape the top here so I get the fat, not the liquid underneath. And we're gonna get some of this tallow. Tallow is beef fat. Nice. And then I'm gonna preheat this, which is gonna evaporate any little bit of moisture that might get in there. So that's good. So you can see inside here, we've got, it might be out of focus, but you can see how there's some of the liquid and the fat. I'm just gonna kind of leave that be for now. Now, you guys might think I'm wasting water right now, but our water here gets super hot. And there was, evidently, one of my chefs in culinary school told me that there was a study that was done of plastic compared to wood cutting boards, and everyone thought that plastic was like the bee's knees for the longest time. But really what was happening is when the knife would press into the plastic and create the divot, it was pushing bacteria in. And because of the fact that the plastic did not expand or contract with the heat like wood does, bacteria would get stuck. So I use scalding hot water to just hit my cutting board, open up the pores of the wood, and pull any of that jalapeno spice or bacteria or anything like that out. And then that's it. Sometimes I'll soap it, but I don't really need to soap it right now. I'm just gonna let that drain. We'll bring that back over shortly when needed. 5 minutes left on our decarb. Okay, so I've got a decent amount of tallow. This is probably gonna shrink down to be somewhere in that like 75 milliliter mark. When you're working with cannabinoids, get used to working in milliliters with your liquids, okay? So I'm gonna fortify this, so to speak, with, because I'm doing my egg, I'm gonna use a very mild oil to just give me a little bit extra. When I'm figuring out my dose, you can try and figure out what your starting amount is, but in this case, because I worked with the tallow that I could get, or the bacon fat that you could get, and it's hard to gauge that, so to speak. I didn't know exactly how much I had in there. The way we're gonna formulate our dose is at the very end. So you can figure out your dose at the very end of infusion without even worrying about what you start with. Now, if you wanna have a particular dose because you want it super concentrated or not, you would wanna figure that out in the end. But we will break this down. So I'm gonna put this in the air fryer. It says there's 4 minutes left in there. So I'm just gonna let that get heated up. That is an oven-safe beaker that gets, oh, see that? See that? I almost wiped with my, my hand towel. It's an oven-safe beaker, and it will, try over there. That'll handle up to like 600 or I think 800 degrees. Our knife cleaned off there. All right, I'm feeling clean and sanied. 420, perfect temp. Hell yeah. All right, so we got a couple people on Twitch, a couple people on YouTube. I don't know if anyone's over on Facebook. I didn't advertise this was gonna be streaming on Facebook. So whatever. Okay, what do we wanna do next here? Let's get our egg prep going, and then we'll make our slaw and get everything else prepped so that we are, while we're cooking the eggs, our infusion will almost be done. There's two ways we can infuse this dish. The first way is we can cook it with the eggs. Now, normally I would never ever say to cook with cannabinoids because they degrade, but we're cooking the eggs at such a low temperature, it should be fine. The other way is you just drizzle it on top. In this case, because of what we're making, now that we're gonna have a different type of fat that's not gonna be fully saturated like the bacon fat would be, the olive oil or the avocado oil is gonna thin that out. We could actually infuse the crema. So you guys let me know what you wanna do. Do we wanna use it to cook the eggs so I can talk about that? Do we want to infuse the, just drizzle it on top, which is honestly one of the, actually is the most accurate way to dose something as a cannabis chef, regardless of what your infusion is, just drizzling on top as long as you have that right flavor. Or do we want to infuse the linalool crema? You guys let me know. This is what I like about cooking live is shit changes, and that's that. Okay, so let's get our cutting board back here. I'm gonna give a quick little peek on our bacon. It's crisping up, I like it. I like my bacon crispy. I like thick cut bacon to have a little bit of body to it, like a little bounce, but thin bacon, I like bacon bit crispy. But cook your bacon however suits your fancy. So let's get over to, what do I want to dirty up my cutting board with first? Probably the slaw. So let's do another little split screen here. Hey, do you guys prefer the split screen like this? Or do you want all cutting board? You let me know. Do you want the split screen so you can kind of see from two angles, or do you want all cutting board? Ooh, excusey. Okay, let's grab our knife. Clean towel, clean knife. All right, and let's grab our radicchio. Okay, could someone, well, there's a couple different, split is good, cool, thanks, Rob Rowe. Radicchio, I don't cook with it a lot, so we're just gonna trim off the base like I would any other cabbage. And then generally how I work with these, by the way, I already peeled off the outer layer. There's really no cleaning these. It's just when you get any type of, iceberg or anything that's formed like this, you're trusting that who you're getting it from is a clean source. This is from Whole Foods. I hope to trust them. So what I'm looking at here is if I cut it this way, okay, I'm gonna have a wider base, where if I cut it this way, it's going to be a higher piece once I put it down the cutting board. I want a wider base here. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it right down the center. Let's check on our decarb. I'm gonna pull our decarb out of the oven, or out of the air fryer. Ooh, let's try this camera over here. We haven't gotten there yet. Hey, y'all. Oh, you're over here. Hey, y'all. All right, so there it is. Nothing too fancy. It's just decarbed herb. I'm gonna put that in a bowl there, let that kind of chill out for a minute. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a probe thermometer, and or you could use a Bluetooth, whatever you want. And the whole goal here is to make sure that my infusion base is going to come to 212 degrees. So probe 1, let's put this all the way down, or up rather. We're gonna set this to let me know when it hits 212 degrees. 212 degrees for 40 minutes is how you're going to infuse, or is how long and what temperature you'll do your infusion at. So 212 degrees, I'm just gonna pull this beaker out, give myself a little extra height here, lower my tray. Beautiful. Stir this up a little bit. That's the other thing that's nice about the probe, is you can use it to stir. And also these probes, the wires will close into the door. Just make sure you don't tip your shit over. and I'm gonna hit the temperature I'm gonna set this to on our bake setting is 225. Now, why 225? Well, because I want to be able to get my oil to 212 and then maintain that the best I can. And right now it is at 120 degrees. So, looks like I might have to put that over here so that when I go that way, and then when I need to do the dishes, I can look over there. And when I'm at the stove, I can look over there. I think that's the, what do you guys think? Should I move some shit around right now? I think I might have to. I don't know, because I'm almost done with the air fryer. Well, heck, whatever. We'll figure it out. All right, so I'm at 225. I'm actually gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna go to 250 because I wanna bring this to the proper temperature and then I wanna maintain it the best I can. Hey there, Ryan Howell is rating with a party of 3. Welcome, I appreciate it. I'm Chef Brandon. I'm cooking with some weed right now, and that's that. Adam, I've done a light mist of grain alcohol on the decarb cannabis as it rests and then infused after. Read somewhere it's good for the process. So that doesn't, so you've got hot, warm weed. Grain alcohol is generally higher proof. It's most likely going to evaporate very quickly. And if you're doing an alcohol infusion, I say, yeah, but for a fat infusion, I don't know if it's necessary. I'd be curious to experiment with it and do some lab tests and whatever, but you never know. Oh, let's switch the camera over, back over here, folks. All right, so what we're gonna do with our radicchio or your purple cabbage, you can use a mandolin to cut this thin or whatever you want, but we're just gonna do a julienne. What you're gonna do, again, hold the base of your knife, your other 3 fingers wrap around, and then your other hand looks like, you know, Jim Carrey does the claw, okay? And your thumb's in the back, stabilizing either just your thumb, your hand, or it's on the back of the food, and then your other fingers are down to your toenails. If you're cutting with your toes, you got some freaky deaky toes, okay? So your fingernails are on an angle away. So the blade is here and your nails are facing away, okay? And then with this hand, you can do whatever's comfortable. You can go slow and keep the tip of your knife on the cutting board like this. That is like a very safe way to do it. Or you can go slow and just kind of like use your knuckles here as a guide, and you can do one little slice at a time. You can do a chop, it depends on the product. With this, because they're airy and loose in the middle, I'm gonna just kind of do a nice little slice like that. Now, push that away. See how this is higher than wider, okay? Which is the case for a lot of you right now. Much higher than wider. Push that down. Now you have a wider base, so your knife isn't coming up as high and you're not working on a less stabilized base. I'm just gonna go through here. And a julienne is an 1/8 inch wide. If you get this between an 1/8 and a 1/4 inch, somewhere along there, you're good to go. Those last bits are always a pain in the ass to get. Okay, so there is the starting point of our slaw. That's a good amount. I'm gonna do this whole thing. If I were cutting this without instructing, I would actually, because of how like airy and like soft this is, doing a chop like that with like an onion is not gonna work very well. First thing I'm gonna do is come in on a little bit of an angle because of that curvature. And I'm not doing a full up. I'm just really focusing on getting my aim, and then my downstroke is where the pressure is mainly lying. Again, push that down. This is if you were to use the tip. And then at the very end, I'm putting a lot of pressure on the product. Perfect. Okay, so there is our slaw. Let's look at our temperature for our oil, 145. I'm gonna reach in here with my tongs and give this a little stir or shake. And that just bumped up my temperature about 20 degrees. So keep that in mind. You want to be able to get those going. Get those going. That made no sense. You want to be able to stir your product with your tongs. That way you can get an accurate temperature reading. Words are hard. Okay, let's go. I think I have that same knife. Thank you. Bada bing, bada boom. Perfect. Ryan, I appreciate your chatting. Makes me happy. So, what am I infusing? Was that a question? Okay, so Ryan, the bacon we got Nick's. I was using thin bacon because it's what I had. I didn't get the thick cut, and I got nowhere near enough fat out of them. Ooh, but folks, the bacon is done. And there's a decent amount of fat in here that I'm gonna reserve. But look at this, our little swirly thing kind of worked out. Let's drain out this fat. Actually, you know what? That's a decent amount of fat. Do you guys think I should throw that into the infusion? I think that with the tallow would have been totally good. But so, Ryan, to answer your question, what I'm actually infusing now is some beef tallow with some avocado oil, because earlier on, I didn't think I was gonna get nearly as much bacon fat out, but I did, so that's friggin' awesome. I'm gonna increase my oven temp now to 500. It's gonna get hot AF in here. That way those veggies can really get roasted. Little jazz happening here. So the same music you guys can hear, I can hear. I have a little speaker here, because otherwise I'm just chatting to myself and I get tired of my own voice. All right, you know what? We're gonna put this into the infusion. You know what I'm gonna do first though? I'm gonna move this camera over here, because I think it's gonna serve a better purpose. No, that's too much. So let's do this. Hang tight, folks. We're doing a little tech shit. Whoa. There. And bring that one up. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing. It's not that entertaining. But now I've got a completely different angle for this camera. So when I go over to the air fryer and to the sink and such, I think that will prove to be a little better. Hang tight. Now this plant is in the way. What do you guys think? Is this a little better? So at least when I'm doing the dishes, my head's chopped off, but I can't angle it up anymore. So that kind of works. Generally I'm hunched over when I'm doing the dishes. And then when I come over here, now I'm in the shot. Okay, excellent suggestions, everyone. Kudos, kudos. I don't know if I can get this a little higher. I don't want to tippy this thing over. We're living on the edge. If my iPod falls over, iPad, which is what this camera is, then I'm just gonna blame Ryan. It was his idea. Okay, let's add this to our, our infusion, okay? So I've got my tongs. We're gonna add our bacon fat. Basically what we're doing is we're totally diluting what our dose will end up being. But you know what? We're going to fortify it. We're gonna add a little extra ingredient in here, and we're going to totally change the potency of this with the CBD. And our temperature is 181, so we're getting close to adding the flour in. Bacon is looking awesome, and that's that. So let's bring you back over here for our slaw. Hey, YouTube, y'all are quiet. What the hell is going on? Oh, there's Andre. Did you select a specific cultivar, and if so, why that one? No, Andre, but great question. Earlier before you got on, I was talking about how terpenes don't matter when we're talking about edibles, because the terpenes evaporate out when they're being decarbed. Your stomach acid destroys the majority of the terpenes, and then your liver goes to war with them afterwards. And at the end of the day, what's left over, these different derivatives of the terpenes, may provoke a physiological effect, but you need, based on the studies that I've seen with humans, a lot of them. So when it comes to making an infusion, you want to aim for cannabinoid extraction efficiency, decarb and extraction efficiency, okay? So there you have it. But what is the cultivar? I don't know, I threw the thing away. This is a hemp variety called AC/DC, very common strain. And the reason I use this is because it actually didn't have a pungent terpene profile. I don't care about pungent terpene profiles when I'm making edibles. I care about cannabinoids because, again, they evaporate out. If you can smell them decarbing in your kitchen, they are leaving the building, okay? They're not getting immediately hailed with your cannabinoids like it is, like what happens when you're smoking. Okay, so we have the base for our slaw. I want you guys to decide whether we're gonna do a creamy slaw or we're going to, and remember, we do have our crema. Are we gonna do a creamy slaw or a vinegar-based slaw? And we'll like do a little vote here and see what y'all have to say. Okay, so what are we doing now? Guys, pay attention. Get your asses together here. We're doing our slaw, which means we're gonna take our scallions here, not all of them, green onion, scallion, and we're gonna bunch these up. I'm actually gonna cut this in half so they're all bunched up together here. And I'm going to start on one tip right here. And notice how all my fingers are, see? Knuckle, between first and second knuckle. Pinching my blade. And for this type of cut, what you wanna do is keep the tip of your knife on the cutting board and you're gonna rock and roll back and forth just like that. Make it the way I want, but you vote vinegar. We got one vinegar, one creamy so far, so we need someone to break the tie. All right, ready? On a bias. And you're going to do a very, very fine bias cut on these green onions / scallions, whatever you want to call them. Everyone, probably depending on where you're from, you'll hear different things. Remember, we broke these down so we use the white ends in our salsa because they have more body to them and generally a more pungent flavor at that end. And then we're using the green ends to be eating raw, and you can use the white ends raw, but the green ends here are what we're going to put into our slaw. Very simple, okay? I think that's a good amount. Yeah, that's a good amount because we're gonna have, I don't want a super pungent onion flavor. It's actually part of the reason I'm using the scallions here is I've become hypersensitive to raw onion and garlic, like bad. Like I taste it for 48 hours after I eat it. It's just weird. Creamy. McDots, thanks for joining. We got 2 creamy and a vinegar, so unless someone wants to make this a tie. All right, now we're gonna take some of our, actually we're gonna take all of our cilantro. We're gonna mince all of this up because I think instead of having bulky cilantro on as a garnish, which does look nice and it tastes great, I'm just gonna put some roughly chopped or minced cilantro on there. Okay, now, let's get this stuff out of frame. Our temperature for our oil is 192. Real quick, folks, before I start chopping cilantro. Oh, new camera angle. I'm gonna come over here, and look, this is what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing my beaker, and I'm just giving this a little swirl. And that's going to even out my temperature, which is showing me 192. Now here's the deal. Ideally, what I should have done, had I not been streaming and focusing on all these other things at once, as I was decarbing my flour, I would have been preheating my oil. So even because the temperature is at 270, because then I could have taken my flour and put it right into the oil, good to go. So consider that when you're cooking at home. And generally when I'm cooking, I'm not doing my cannabis infusions at the same time. When I'm doing my infusions, I'm doing my infusions. When I'm cooking. I generally like to keep them separate because now, if I was working with THC, I would be even more careful with it. But since there's like hardly any THC in here because it's hemp flower, we're good to go. 194, but anyway, keep that in mind. You can kind of go back and forth with that. I like the plant in the front there. Little depth. You guys, should I move it or are we good to go? Yes, McDots, the reason I use the air fryer is because it's convection. You keep your temperature moving, or you keep your air moving, you minimize the amount of cold and hot spots. And this air fryer is not the bucket type, it is the oven door type. That's the reason I like this. Okay, now look, I've got cilantro here. You can see that I do have some larger stems in here. The stems of cilantro are delicious. Stems of parsley can get a little bit bitter, especially once they start to get really, my fan just kicked on because of the roasted veggies. Should I broil these? I don't know if my broiler in this oven comes from the bottom. Nope, can't broil them. Whew, pants are falling down, folks. All right, so it's gonna get hot in here. I'm actually gonna turn my air down a notch or two. Oh my gosh, my German Shepherd is just passed the F out on the bed. Okay, so back to cilantro. Stop scrolling, you ADD shits. Let's do this. Okay, now, parsley stems, the thicker they get, the more bitter. I'm not a big fan. Basil stems, not a fan at all. I do leaves only. Oregano or a firmer stem, get rid of them, okay? But cilantro stems themselves, even the thicker ones, are delicious, okay? So what you can do with your cilantro, instead of starting off and then have them all spread out like this, bring this all together and pile it high, okay, intentionally. All right, now, if I were to just start mincing like this, doing this pivot chop, it's not gonna make any sense, okay? Here, let me fix this. Split screen, get that centered better. Add this one, and let's bring y'all to there instead. You like the plant? All right, we're keeping the plant. Looks like we got a couple more people. Guys, last vote. Even if you voted, vote again. All new votes. Are we doing a creamy slaw or a vinegar slaw? Like a vinegar mustardy slaw, something like that. Last vote. Okay, pile it high. Then what you're gonna do with your knife is you're gonna come through and do very loose cuts, both directions. Now look, it is now like a third of the height. Bring it back together again, okay? You can go a little faster this time, and you're bringing the product down closer to the cutting board. Now, once it's close like this is when you can start doing your, at this point, a rough chop. Now, notice what I'm doing. Same concept as what we talked about before. I'm pinching the base of the blade. My other 3 fingers wrap around, okay? Your non-dominant hand is going to pinch the top of your blade, the top, not the blade, the top of your knife part, okay? I just call this the blade, the very top, the not sharp part. Okay, you're gonna pinch this, 2 fingers, generally at least 3 fingers, maybe 4. Probably that's excessive. I usually just use 3. And you're going to pivot from this point. There's no reason you should cut yourself ever doing this chop, okay? Your fingers are not near the edge of the blade, okay? And all I'm doing is pivoting, and then I push the product together, and all the bouncing is coming from my dominant hand. All right, we got a creamy, we got a vinegar. Ooh, Andre changed his mind, so we're tied still. Next person is gonna break the tie. Whoever it is, are we doing creamy or are we doing the vinegar? And is anyone actually cooking from home? Like following along? If so, that's kind of cool. All right, so in my world, this right here is a rough chop. This is not a mince, okay? This is a rough chop, got different sizes and whatnot. That's why it's rough. We're gonna stop there because I don't think a proper mince is necessary for this. Now, what we're gonna do is take half, maybe 2/3, and it's gonna go right into our slaw. Grab a mise en place container. Let's check our temperature for, okay, it's at 208. So I think I'm going to get my, oh man, I had a bicycle accident. I went over the handlebars on a bike like 2 years ago, and I scorpioned with my hands like this at my chest, and I landed directly on my jaw, and my wrists and my fingers bent back, and I have now terrible arthritis in mainly my left hand, but a little bit in my right. It's why I wear my wedding ring on my right hand. Even moving like that, it freaking hurts terribly. And no, folks, CBD doesn't help it. It is, I don't know. I've tried a lot of different things. It sucks though. All right, enough about me, more about cilantro. We're just gonna move this right on over. And now I'm gonna take a minute here. I'm gonna clean off my cutting board so that I don't stain it. Actually, before, I'm gonna get a little bit of some additional green onion here, scallion, just for a garnish. Green looks nice on a yellow-based taco because the egg, we're gonna have the bacon, so yellow, green, red. I'm cutting this on even a little bit harder of a bias, as you can, well, you can't totally see, but there you go. Oh, you hear that? That is the sound of my temperature is good to go. All right, so now I'm gonna take another little mise en place container here and throw the scallion for garnish over there off to the side. Okay. So now I'm going to carefully, very carefully, switch screens to number 4. That would be cool if you had a schedule with a recipe. Hey, J-Star Rocky, I do have a schedule with a recipe. Go to trichominstitute.com or my link through my bio and subscribe. So just go to the very bottom of the page or when the pop-up comes up, subscribe. And as a subscriber of Trichome Institute, you will get notified when I'm gonna be streaming, what ingredients to get, and you'll be able to have some time so you can cook along at home. That's awesome. All right, you know what? I think that, that's awesome, J-Star. You used to cook. What type of restaurants did you cook at? All right, so I'm gonna come over here. I've got my decarb flour, which is in our tea infuser. Smells like a stale sugar cookie. That's the way I describe flour after it's decarb, a stale sugar cookie, because all those terpenes have evaporated out. And I'm going to grab our, while I'm here, veggies are getting there, looking good. Probably another, let's do 10 minutes. 11:11. Less buttons to push. Okay, you can shut your hole. I'm gonna bring this out carefully. And I'm basically just gonna pour in our flour. And I don't know if you guys can see from there, but it's just like slowly dropping into the fat. Get it completely covered. And now it's completely submerged, okay? Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you guys a better close-up of this. So you can see the flour is completely submerged, all right? And my oil temperature is 212. We're gonna get this back in here. And we're not gonna be cooking anything until that is done. So I'm gonna set my time to 40 minutes. And I'm gonna drop my temperature to about 225 because I wanna maintain 212 degrees as best I can here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my temperature, the setting to 220. So if it exceeds 220, I'll know to turn my heat down a little bit. So I don't think you guys can even see that. You might be able to see it a little bit. Hey, who knows what they are? Does anyone know what those things back there are? Huh? Do you? Do you? All right, let's do a little cleanup here. Now that we have our bacon is complete, totally done, cooling down so we can crisp them and chop them up. Our veggies probably we got about 10 minutes or so for our roasted salsa. We've got our, what else do we got here? We have our decarb is done. We've got a mixture of tallow, bacon fat, and avocado oil. Gonna be delicious for our infusion back here, which is going at 225 degrees to maintain a temperature of 212 in the oil, and that's gonna go for 40 minutes. So what does that mean? We probably got at least another hour or so of you guys dealing with my bad jokes and bald head. So let's bring it, actually let's keep you all over here for a second. All those controllers for guitar and bass. Yes, guitar. I got a new guitar a couple weeks ago after years of not having an electric. Like, I'm talking like 20 years of not having electric. And I got a Corey Wong signature Strat. Been saving my pennies and researching for this guitar for, God, 3 years. I've been looking for the right one. Bought two, returned them. They just didn't feel right after I got home and was playing them. But this guitar is my jam. Anyway, okay. So my cutting board has only got some cilantro on there, so it's really not that dirty. Just gonna give this a quick little rinse. And then I'm gonna come over here and give myself a little wet wipe down here. I'm not worried about using any type of like sani, because I haven't used any ingredients that you can really get sick off of raw, aside from the bacon, which I swirled everywhere, so there's that to consider. Oh, I got cilantro all the way over there. All right, so let's get rocking with the rest of our slaw here, folks. All right, so let's see, we got a couple people on Twitch, we got a couple people on YouTube. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. No one said anything from Facebook, I don't think. Let's pop her open. Pop off a piece of my Facebook. Facebook. Intermission. If you have to take a pee break, go do it now. All right, so let's come over to Trichome Institute. And we've got a live stream with one person watching, which is me. Yeah, so Facebook does not treat Trichome Institute very nicely. We have tried doing like ads, non-cannabis related ads. It's just, they do not like us. It sucks. Like, we can't advertise. It stinks. Anyway, that's why we're doing streams and stuff like this. New ways to reach our current students and subscribers, new ways to reach out to new folk, and that's that. Now, this is my clean towel. Remember, the blue is my clean towel, so just getting the juices off of there. And now we're going to take our bacon and first of all, quality control. You know what? This little swirl thing is cool. I like it. It actually gives it more texture. And it's not super crispy. I could keep it in there longer. I might throw it back in a bit. We'll see. Let me show you guys where we're at with the roasted veggies, 500 degrees. See that nice little char that's happening on some of them? That is looking good. I'm gonna let them go 5 more minutes on the clock there. And then we will pull them out, let them cool, get them into the blender, and we're in good shape. Slaw. Where do we end up on? Guys, what did I say? Creamy? We're doing creamy. All right. So we're gonna have a crema as well, which is fine to have a creamy slaw with something else creamy, to be honest with you. I'm fine with that because you're gonna have totally different flavor profiles. I also think I wanna keep this, I don't know, guys. I'm thinking we're gonna do vinegar. I think if I have this mayo, it's gonna pull away from that crema. And the salsa is not gonna be super acidic. It's gonna be spicy. So I think we're gonna do a vinegar slaw. Sorry, not sorry. It's just, I think what makes the most sense for this. Now, if I wasn't doing the crema with the linalool, which, I don't wanna add the linalool to the slaw, and there's a couple reasons for that. I think we're gonna stick to a vinegar. We're gonna do rice wine vinegar. Actually, no, we'll do some red wine vinegar and some lime zest, lime juice, salt, and just let this be super, super fresh without any spice. I think that it's going to, just another place, my vote doesn't count, and sarcasm. Wait, McDots, you're still saying creamy? I'm torn here. I love creamy slaw, but I think I have an idea. I have an idea. Hold on. Yep. Okay. All right, folks. We're going to make, instead of a linalool crema, we're gonna mix some linalool in with the goat cheese. And I'm gonna mix goat cheese with some pecorino, or no, Parmesan, goat cheese, Parmesan with a little bit of linalool, and I think that's it, black pepper. Keep that super clean. It's still, it's creamy, crema-ish. That way we can do a creamy slaw, and the tang with lime juice from the slaw with those fresh flavors will go with this richer, creamy, not as different type of tang than the sour cream. So if you guys don't have goat cheese, that's totally fine. Keep doing this. I don't know. Should I follow the original recipe? Is anyone cooking from home that I'm gonna totally mess up them following along? No one said that they are yet, so I know some people told me that they were going to. McDots, I know you're just joshing. You're good though, because I want to do what, you know, what kind of makes sense, but I also like kind of evolving the recipe. Real quick, is anyone cooking from home that if I do this mixture, it's gonna totally get you all unjazzed? Let me know right now. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep plowing through here. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll give you a second. In the meantime, I'm gonna get my, my zest rocking here. So we're gonna take a microplane, whether we do this as a creamy or not, lime zest and juice. So in the zest here, you've got a ton of terpenes, limonene, pinene, terpinolene, I believe is one of them. But there's a very familiar terpene. Can I just decarb high THC herb and sprinkle it on top of some fat per se and get super baked? Well, you would want to infuse it into the fat and then strain it. You could just sprinkle some decarbed herb on top of food, but you're never ever going to know the dose. But really, to answer your question, yes. Would I recommend doing it that way? No. But if you're just doing it for yourself, have at it. But the flavor of dried cannabis after it's been decarbed is not that great. So that's why I recommend at least putting it, infusing it into your fat like I'm doing right now. And then from there, you can then go into, what am I saying here? Infuse it into the fat, and then you can add it on top of something that you like. A high-fat food. Well, if you're just sprinkling the weed on top of it, you're getting the dose anyway. The fat at that point is not required, okay? The fat is an extraction so you can pull it away from the plant material. But literally, you could take decarb herb and just eat it, and it'll get you high. You just will have no idea what the dose is, and it's gonna taste like absolute trash for the most part. I know some people say they love the flavor of cannabis. I think it's more because they just love the plant so much, but I am not a huge fan of just the raw flavor of cannabis. Cover it up with something strong. Peanut butter works if you're lazy. Yeah, that works. Let's see here. All right, no one seems to be cooking from home today, which is fine. Remember, if you subscribe, go to TriChemInstitute.com, subscribe to our mailing list. You'll get notified of when I'm going to stream next and what the recipe is going to be, and that'll be great. So we're going to go mayo based, folks. And my timer just went off for. My wife also likes a mayo base, so. Ooh wee! This is perfect. This is exactly what I could have hoped for when talking about roasted veggies. That is fantastic. Nice little char on there, caramelization happening, and they're soft, so they're gonna blend nicely. Beautiful. So I'm gonna let this cool off next to our bacon. And then we will get that into the blender here shortly once it's cool. Not a very good thing to put something super hot into a blender, because then it ends up just bursting everywhere. No bueno. All right, so in the sense of how much mayo, honestly, it's gonna be totally up to you. It depends on how much mayo you like, how creamy you want it to be. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. That might seem like a lot, but for slaw, it's generally not. You gotta think you have all these like individual little morsels of product, so you need to be able to coat them all. I'm gonna have all of my limes here because, except for the last one, because I want to keep the zest intact so I can zest it if I want. So we're just gonna put a little bit of lime juice in here. You can squeeze it with your hands, or if you have one of these, that's great. A little extra liquid in there will also help with getting your, kind of loosening up that mayo a little bit. Anyway, I was talking about limes earlier, and one of the terpenes that it's super dominant in, that's super familiar, and then I got distracted by something. And what that is linalool. The reason that we're doing a lot of lime here instead of lemon, and I'm infusing with linalool into our goat cheese, is where you know, maybe I'll just do the sour cream. I think it might be easier. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. Anyway, linalool is high in lime, or should I say not necessarily high in the sense of like compared to other terpenes, but it's a dominant flavor. It's dominant in lime. It's also dominant in cilantro, okay? So whenever you're cooking with terpenes, again, don't think about cooking with terpenes in the sense of the effects that they may or may not provoke. Think of cooking with terpenes as you are adding flavor and aroma. It's that simple, okay? And when you're cooking with them, sometimes you can use a totally random terpene that's not in any of the other ingredients that you're looking to pair, and it'll work. And other times you just want to take your ingredients and look at what the terpene profile is so that you can find one that's isolated and then accentuate it even further, pairing these things together. So that's kind of the way I think about terpenes in the kitchen. I'm grabbing some salt and pepper here. I'm a salt fiend, so y'all know. So salt to taste, anything and everything, okay? It's very rare that I do not salt something unless it's super intentional because the ingredient in it is really mild and I want that to kind of shine through, but everything else will be salted, so the entire bite will be super delicious. I thought the fats also help digestion or your body processing in some way. Just hearsay or something. So if the fat, yes, cannabinoids that are encapsulated in fat will increase the bioavailability of the cannabinoids. What type of fat, how they have to be encapsulated, all that, don't know. The study that I was reading about that was, I don't want to say simple or generic, but it didn't, you know, explain all the details. It doesn't have to be nano-emulsified. But yes, cannabinoids deliver in fat will increase, it'll basically help it get to the liver and maintain, be intact longer to get to the liver. So I'm a big fan of fat infusions. Alcohol infusions are good for water-based ingredients, but you know, this whole idea that it pulls in, so liver metabolism is crucial for an edible because that's what takes the delta-9 THC into 11-hydroxy-THC. The more delta-9 that you can get to the liver for first-pass metabolism, the more 11-hydroxy that you're going to get. That is what makes an edible high an edible high. All right, let's see here. So that's super creamy. Ooh, and acidic. What does this need? I probably put a little too much mayo in here, but we'll be fine. I want some sweetness. So I don't do sugar, but I love honey. This needs a little touch of sweetness. It's probably about a teaspoon and a half, maybe 2 teaspoons of honey in there. And after that, I'm not even gonna taste it. I'm gonna just let this rest for a little bit. I'll let all those flavors kind of come together. But I think that little touch of sweetness is gonna bring the slaw together. Creamy slaw. Some people like runny slaw. Like, I do not like runny slaw at all. I like it to be like, to hold its body. If you like a runnier, you know, you can see the consistency of this. It's everything holds together. Putting runny slaw on a taco is not good. Actually, I'm gonna quickly taste this and then I'm gonna let it rest. Yes. A little more salt. That honey just brought this to a whole other level, which is also gonna be really good for, I just ate off the spoon, but guess what? It's just me and my wife. If you're a pro cook, don't do that shit. Or a pro chef in a kitchen, anywhere, serving the public, please don't do that. If you're home and people don't care about swap and spit with you, how about it? Let's try this again. Yep. Oop, slaw down. I'm glad that I did that with the sweetness because it's gonna go great with the spice of our salsa. The heaviness of the eggs, we've got different textures in there. I'm happy, I like it. All right, so I'm gonna kind of put this off to the side here. 22 minutes left on our infusion, which is down to 205 degrees. So I'm gonna bring my temperature back up to 250 and let that do its thing. Boom, 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 boom. All right, we got a few people on YouTube. We got a few people on Twitch. Facebook, we have no idea, because remember, Facebook doesn't like us. Ooh, my wife just sent me her Wordle of the day through New York Times. Let's see how far, what she got. She got it on the 3rd try. Ooh. Have any of y'all been doing the Wordle? Okay, what's next? We have our crema. We'll get the crema going, and by the time I'm done that, our veggies should be cool enough to be able to get into the blender. And yeah, so let's grab a little bowl. We're gonna do our normal sour cream crema. 2 creamy things plus creamy egg. This is just gonna be a creamy, delicious, super keto, low carb, delicious taco. Let's get our goat cheese back in here. I am still going to pull out some of the Parmesan, I believe, though. Yeah, how about Pecorino Romano? We'll pull some of that out. That'll be tasty. So, measurements. This is gonna be totally up to you. How much do you wanna make? It's gonna determine how much linalool you're actually gonna be able to put in here. So I'm gonna take, you know, probably about a 1/4 cup of, ooh, excuse, sour cream. Now, get that back in the fridge, get a little loosey-goosey. I've got enough lime acid and zest in the slaw. So I think what I'm gonna do here is hit this with some cilantro, leave a little left over for our garnish, and I'm gonna hit this with a good amount of fresh cracked black pepper. It's gonna be a totally different type of spice than the jalapeno spice that's gonna come through. Also gonna get like little chunks of black pepper, and that's gonna get a good amount in here. And a touch of salt, just enough to have a little bit in there, but so it's not necessarily salted, let alone salty. So something that is salted in my world is it's salted. There's the perfect amount of salt, okay? Something that's salty, obviously it's too much. And then just adding a little touch again, it's just there to help kind of bring out flavors, but not dominate or be even salted, okay? Now we've got linalool, okay. I've mentioned a couple ingredients so far that are high in linalool, and if someone can name those 2 ingredients, I'm gonna give you free access to the Cooking with Cannabis course, which is completely online, that Trichome released in partnership with the American Culinary Federation. So I'm looking at both chats right now. The first one that pops up, one is kind of like YouTube, yeah, one's on YouTube and one's on Twitch. The first person to say the 2 ingredients that I mentioned linalool is dominant in no particular order, I'm gonna give you access to the Cooking with Cannabis course that we just launched in partnership with the American Culinary Federation. It's about 6 hours long of video content, 2 hours of supplemental reading, and it's me teaching you everything about cooking with cannabis. So I'm not here to teach you how to cook in the course. Here I'm teaching you how to cook things. But in the online course, it's all about cannabis, the processes that are involved, the different methods you can do for infusions, with working with flower, working with concentrates. Janae, you got one of them. You got one, you're close. I mentioned 2 ingredients, so you gotta list them both. It's technical, it's an advanced course. It's for someone who has experience, not necessarily in a professional kitchen, but at least in a home kitchen. That you're comfortable in the kitchen, you're comfortable with food. Yes, McDots, you got it right over on Twitch. Cilantro and lime, congratulations. You've been super active in chat, really appreciate it. Janae, very close, you got one of them, but Janae, you can still get access to the Cannabis for All course. So this is what I need both of you to do. I need to go to Trichome Institute, and I will write it in here to, actually, if you scroll up in chat, you'll see where, oh, I can just copy this. I don't know if that actually pops up in the YouTube chat when I put it in here. TrichomeInstitute.com. If you go to TrichomeInstitute.com, we have our little BudBot, chatbot at the bottom right. I want you to message me. You'll have to put in your email. And I want you to say, Janae or anyone else, just write your information. Say, hey, please give me Cannabis for All. That's our kind of not a beginner course, but it's a consumer course on understanding cannabis. And then McDots, just say, hey, this is McDots, and I won the Cooking with Cannabis course. So do that. Okay, let's get back to cooking. Linalool. Linalool is dominant in a lot of flowers, especially lavender. On average, about 45 to 50% of the terpene rate, profile in lavender varieties is linalool. It's super floral. If you go into Whole Foods or any grocery store and you walk down, you know, the cleaning aisle, you're going to smell linalool and pinene and limonene and others, but a lot of linalool. You go to Bed Bath & Beyond or a beauty store or Bath & Body Works, you're gonna be smelling linalool. In the pungency aspect of a lot of these terpenes, I would put it right in the middle. It's not super pungent like citral, where 1 drop will blow a recipe away. It's also not super weak, kind of like beta-caryophyllene, which is like, or valencine, or a little on the lower side. So with this small amount of crema that I have here, this is a disposable pipette, which is what I use for my terpenes. I'm gonna start off by putting 1-2 drops of linalool in here. You can always add more, but you can't take it away unless you add more in here. Now, I have cilantro in here. I've got lime in other areas, and adding this linalool will give a floral element to this dish. Now, some of you might be thinking, why the hell do I want to taste flowers when I'm eating a taco? Well, until you've tried it, don't knock it, okay? The other thing is linalool. Well, terpenes as a whole love fatty things because they can distribute evenly. But linalool, I've noticed with cream, whether it's in a savory or a sweet recipe, linalool is just meant to be with cream. I do a heavy cream, blue cheese, linalool, and I whip it up. Oh, so good. And you just want just a touch of floral aroma, just a touch. It's gonna pair with the cilantro. It goes great with the cream. and just 2 drops. It adjusts the flavor a little bit. A little more salt in here. It adjusts the flavor a little bit, but what it does is it gives this mouthfeel that's different, and it provides this aroma profile that it's different. It's something unique, and I like presenting it to people as a way to feature a terpene in a way that they're able to taste it, but it's just there. It's just enough. It's like salt. You have just enough. A little bit too much, now it's salty. Same thing with terpenes. That little salt brought that together. I get the black pepper, get the cream, and I get this beautiful, subtle floral flavor that when it's with everything else, it's just gonna be like, what is that? That's something I'm familiar with. It's good. Now, if you think cilantro tastes like soap, don't put linalool in anything, okay? Because I assure you, it'll probably have a soapy vibe to it, not floral. Okay, my temperature needs to go back down. It just hit 220, so I'm gonna put this back down to 225 and let that relax. It'll go down here shortly. Loving it. All right, everyone seems to be doing just fine here. All right, so we have our crema done. Now we're going to get our roasted veggie. Oh, excuse me, we got a little burps here, or hiccups rather. Roasted veggie salsa done. So we're gonna bring out the blender here. If you wanna mince these all up by hand and you want to have a chunkier salsa, by all means, go for it. I wanna have something that's very clean and just easy to spread, not chunky, because we got the slaw, that's chunky enough. Okay, so, sounds like it sings linalool. Sounds like it seems linalool is my favorite terpene. Linalool is a great terpene. My absolute favorite terpene is limonene because it's it's the second most abundant terpene in nature. Citrus goes with almost every food, and it's just a match in heaven, to be honest with you. Okay, so we're gonna take our roasted veg here, and then we're gonna get them into our blender. If you have an immersion blender, a stick blender, feel free, use that. There's a lot of juices in here, so this is going to hopefully blend easily. This Ninja blender, so because we were living in a motorhome for a year and a half, traveling around the country, my wife's a travel nurse, so that's why we were doing that during the C word. You know, I didn't have space for all the stuff. So we just had this little blender, and I think I want to get either a Breville or go back to a Vitamix. Vitamix, they're just so damn expensive, but they last forever. So, going to hope that this will blend. Food processor here would be actually even better, because we'll get it to a pretty blended consistency. And let's see what happens here. It's gonna get loud for y'all. Deal with it. Oh yeah. Beautiful. That's it. That's all I needed. There might be a couple little chunks in here, totally fine. Ooh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be spicy, and it's got a relatively thick consistency, which is good because when I put some of the lime juice in here, ooh. The spice is there. God, it's good just by itself. That is fantastic. A little acid and a little salt. I am totally loving that. Really, really loving it. All right, we got 9 minutes left on our infusion, and then we're gonna pull out the magical butter filter press, and we're gonna do another giveaway. If I am traveling, can I just 350 Fahrenheit decarb some herb on a good vape and sprinkle it on some good fatty food, or is it too high of a temp? Well, the third. If you decarb at 350 in your vaporizer, it's going to evaporate out because it's a vaporizer. It's not just going to stay in the flower. So you would want to, if you only have that and you want an edible form, you want to reduce your temperature to like 250 to 270. Some of the terpenes will evaporate out at that point, but not as many of the cannabinoids. But once you get higher temperatures, you will start to experience cannabinoid loss. So that's that. I killed my ninja making hummus, had to upgrade to a food processor. Yeah, they're not meant for hummus, that's for sure. Okay, let's get this into a bowl. Whew, that's tasty. Oh yeah. This has got a nice, it's warm and it's still holding up, so chilled, this is gonna be even thicker. And this will cool down a little bit by the time our infusion's done and we start getting our eggs going and build this taco out. Just to give you a little, you can see the consistency here. That's, I think, great. It's got a thick nappe, so it holds on to things, okay? So this would be great as a salsa. I'm gonna put a little bit of lime juice to start. Those limes actually had a nice little good flavor to them. So we'll put a little lime juice in. That'll thin it out just a touch. And then we're going to add some salt. Remember, I did not salt these ahead of time. So I'm salting this based off of that. If you salt it ahead of time, be sure you're tasting things and you're adding a little here, a little there. Remember, salted, not salty. This is super, super clean and fresh. I mean, we've got, for those of you who may have joined later on, we have a bunch of jalapenos, some mini bell peppers, some heirloom tomatoes, and some of the lighter and whiter parts of some green onion or scallions. And now a little bit of lime juice and salt. That spice is awesome. So I'm gonna hit this with a little bit more acid, but I'm not gonna use lime juice because I think we've used enough lime so far. I'm a big fan of rice wine vinegar. Touch of acid without imparting a ton of flavor. That'll also thin this out a little bit. Any type of good old rice wine vinegar, not seasoned rice wine vinegar. That's important. Do not use seasoned rice wine vinegar. It will be salted and sweet. There's a time and a place for it, but not right now. You said 260 CIF is enough for decarbing cannabis. What is the proper temp for infusion? So 200, so this is what I do. For my, in an oven or an air fryer setting, 270 is what I set it to, 270 degrees. And once it's there, I decarb for 30 minutes. There's a bunch of data to back that in the cooking course. For the infusion, I want to keep my infusion oil at 212 for 40 minutes. So if you guys want to write this down, 270 for 30, 212 for 40. That is your decarb temp and time, your infusion temp and time. But what that means is maintaining your infusion temperature. So it could take longer. That's why you preheat your oil. If you go back and watch through the video, you'll see what I did here. All right, let's give this another taste. I want to put more salt in it. I'm going to, because as it cools, it'll feel less salty. It'll taste less salty. Beautiful spice there. Beautiful spice. I love it. It's just there. It's on your tongue, it's on your palate, but it's not like, you know, anything like that. But the thing is with your infusion, it's making sure you maintain 212 degrees for that 40 minutes or somewhere around there. So it could take you a little longer, but you want to preheat your oil and you'll be good to go. All right, folks, time to crack some eggs. I use a Levo for my infusion. They suggest 250 for 2.5 hours. That seems like a very long time, to be honest with you. Based on the studies that I've read, the published studies, and the scientists that I've reached out to, as well as the experiments that I've done, 250 for 2.5 hours, you're gonna experience loss. Just do 270 degrees for 30 minutes. It is based off of the Mississippi Pharmaceutical Division that I reached out to after they did a decarb study. They told me 266 degrees, maintaining 266 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes will decarb pretty much every single cannabinoid in the most efficient way. I say set your oven to 270, have it in a perforated container, which is wherever mine is at. I think I put it in the dishwasher. Perforated container, and that way the heat hits it directly. You have a convection oven, so you're constantly maintaining that temperature, and the smaller the oven, the better at maintaining the temperature as well. You're gonna have the best decarb efficiency. So there we go. All right, now what's next here? We're just gonna crack some eggs, folks. I'm gonna do a quick little clean reset here. Ooh, where we at? Where we at? Where we at? All right. So, mise en place, everything in its place, is not just about food, it's not just about your prep, it's about everything you do in your kitchen. Keep your shit clean. It's that simple. I'm excited for this taco. So I'm on a little strict diet break. No drinking, no intoxicants at all actually, and eating very low carb, mainly carnivore, a little touch of keto here and there. And I'm doing intermittent fasting where basically I'm only eating once a day in the early evening. So yeah, it's today is day 3 or 4, I think. Basically, got to get my bikini body ready. And yeah, decarb 266, infuse at 212, and in that same order, it's 30 minutes and 40 minutes. So anyway, so I'm gonna eat lunch-ish today, and I don't know if I'll eat again. We'll see. We will see. Crazy. All right, we've got 2 minutes left on this mayo. I think I may have put a little bit too much mayo on my slaw, I'm not gonna lie. I lied. I love mayo. And the radicchio is holding up pretty well. It's a little softer than a regular purple cabbage, but it works for me. I think I'm gonna put that at the base of the slaw with the eggs on top, then the salsa, then the bacon. It's gonna be a softer taco. Like things in it, it's gonna be softer, maybe a little messy, but whatever, it's gonna be delicious. All right, so what am I gonna put my eggs in? Do I gotta, they'll fit in here. All right, so I don't care how you crack your eggs, just whether it's on flat surface or not. Wow, let's go flat surface. Wow, that was like the strongest egg ever. Always crack your eggs into a bowl first separately. That way if you get a little eggshell in there, you can easily pull it out. And yes, I'm getting egg white juice on my cutting board. We'll give it a rinse after this, no big deal. Now, in order to do these low and slow scramble, you need to have a decent amount of eggs. You can't do it with 3 or 4 eggs, okay? You need a good amount. So, you know, save this style of egg cookery for when you're cooking for at least 2 people who enjoy their protein. So we're doing 8 eggs. I'll probably have a couple bites of the taco and then just finish the eggs. Now, this is filled to the brim, okay? I am not worried about, ooh, it's almost time to strain. I'm not worried about whipping or beating these eggs right now because of how we're gonna cook these low and slow. It doesn't matter. Put these off to the side. I'm gonna hit this with some hot water and get rid of the egg. And let's grab our infusion, folks. Now, I'm going to do this as carefully as I possibly can. I'm gonna use this tray to put my probe on since it's gonna be dirty. I'm gonna grab a towel for my little phalanges because they're sensy. And get this out. Now, those of you who may have joined later, I am actually infusing hemp flower, not marijuana. So this is going to be a primary, a non-intoxicating experience infusion. Now, this is what we got to do. Ooh. These beakers, they actually cool down relatively quickly, which is what's pretty nice. Now, let's try something new. Magical Butter, who makes an awesome little infusion machine, which I definitely recommend if you're making flower infusions in bulk, okay? They just came out with a new straining / filtering device. And I'm gonna get this set up and then we're gonna do, here, let's get this little split cam going actually. Let's bring y'all, that should hopefully do the trick. All right, so we have our infusion here. Now, in the Cooking with Cannabis course, I provide a couple different options for straining flower. I'm a huge fan of these nylon brewer's bag, muslin bag, or just filter bags. They're 200 micron. They're phenomenal for straining flower. And especially if you're only working with a little bit at a time, or even a lot, just depends. I love these things. Now, Magical Butter just came out with a new little device here, which I'm very intrigued by. I haven't used it yet, so we're getting a first look here on what this is going to be like. And I think what I want to do here is kind of zoom this camera out just a little bit. If you guys can remind me to put it back that way you can see, hopefully. Yep, I think that should work. Is that all in? Yep, that'll do. And we'll move it forward just a little bit and back this way. Okay, so there's my sweet spot. We'll just keep the lid right there as my spot to aim on. Okay, so what this is there is a mesh metal filter that is very similar to actually what I was doing my decarb in, like those tea filter, okay? So that really intrigued me. And then from here, you've got this bottom piece that has the lip that comes in so that things can't spew out the side. It helps drain it directly into a ball jar, whether it's a wide or a narrow mouth. There's two different ways it can screw on, as you can see here, okay? Narrow and then wide mouth. All right, so you take that and then you put your filter press directly in here. Oh, let me, okay, so this stabilizes. Remember, first time using it, still learning. I'm not the infomercial guy. Here we go. Now, you're gonna take your, that's okay to touch by hand. Yeah. You're gonna take your flower infusion and you're just going to pour it all in, okay? Now that is filtering all by itself for the most part, okay? Which is awesome. But this is where the press comes in, and this is where you get to control how much flower flavor, extra flower flavor, should I say, you're going to get in your infusion. You take this little plunger, which you can see this comes off, so you can clean it easily. And that creates a seal along the side, much like a coffee press, so that you're able to not have flour coming up. And you're gonna take this and just plunge it down and press. Now, let's see how much. It's a good amount more coming out here, actually. And I can see I have that flour pressed. There's a line showing right here. So that flour is like halfway up and now it's pressed down. And because of that fine mesh filter, you're not getting little fragments of flour that's coming out there. And you're getting the most out of your infusion as possible. I think giving this a little spin probably help as well. And that's it. I don't want to press too hard and end up breaking the thing, but there was a significant amount of oil that came out of there. And then here's what's great. They give you this little silicone thing, which silicone is great to use with cannabis stuff and oils because they're very easy to clean. And all you're gonna do is unscrew this and there you go. Pretty cool. I think that's actually a phenomenal invention for doing flower infusions. I mean, hell, there's plenty of other things like in your kitchen that you could use this for filtering and straining and whatnot. I think that's awesome. I'm really impressed with that. Yeah, I like it. The plastic, I hope holds up. I'm sure it will. You know, they could easily make a metal version of this, but I think the plastic is like probably gonna be easy, super easy. And then look, there's our infusion. And let's see, I don't know if that'll go out of focus or not, but there's no like cloudiness, like flour cloudy. There's a little bit of sedative in there because pressing it in there, but it smells like bacon, it smells like beef, and this is gonna be a delicious infusion. Excellent. So now what I wanna do is I wanna work on properly dosing this the best that we can. Now I told you in the beginning, there is no possible way to know your dose when you're working with a flower infusion. It's impossible. But we're gonna take the guidelines of what I recommend when working with a flower-based infusion, and we're going to figure out what our dose would be here per milliliter. Remember, when you're working with infusions, you want to be working milligrams to milliliters. So let's pour this into our beaker. Get as much of this out as possible. Yeah, McDots, I don't recommend cheesecloth. If you don't get one of these presses, then what I recommend is a nylon bag. Cheesecloth is terrible. It soaks up your product, and it also separates. It's not good. Not good for this application. Okay. Let's see here. A couple comments over here. Good to go. A couple people everywhere hanging out. Groovy. Okay, so now what do we have here? We have, that would be 150, that would be 125. You know what? I think I need a smaller beaker. Where did my little beaker go? I have a medium beaker somewhere. Oh, it's what I was doing the actual infusion in. Where did that go? It's in the sink. Hang tight, folks. This will be much more accurate when seeing how much we've got in here. Let me give this a little whoosh. Okay. Now I could have eyeballed that and said, hey, there's like 135 milliliters in here, but that would not be very accurate. This one goes up to 250, so it's definitely more accurate to identify what your volume is. Yeah, I like the idea that McDot that it screws on because, you know, it's stabilizing it, but you don't have to worry about it like sliding off, and, you know, I think it's a pretty cool little tool. I'm definitely impressed with it. I wanted to try it before I got started, but I was like, you know what, we're gonna do it live because we'll see what y'all think. Okay, so we're gonna pour this back over here. Gonna have a little bit of loss just because of, you know, I'm going from one jar to another. There's a little remaining there, but you know what? That's why figuring out your dose ahead of time is actually the best way to do it. But when you're not starting with a particular measured amount of, just gonna let this drain out a little bit into here because that's where I'm gonna store it. Since we're working with flour and we have no idea what our dose is going to be anyway, this is all kind of a hypothetical type of thing. Now, what do I have here? I have exactly 175 milliliters of infusion. Now let me find my cheat sheet. Shit, did I throw it away? No. All right, so we're gonna get out the phone here, get out the calculator. We're gonna do a little stoner math, all right? So, based off of 14 grams of flour, 13.1% CBD. At the end of the day, that leaves us with 1,834 milligrams of CBD. If we had perfect decarb, perfect everything, this flour represented the lab test and 100% extraction efficiency, that's not the case, okay? So I always take the total and I cut it in half, right? Now, if you're working with a high marijuana or a high THC marijuana strain, you have to dose based off of 100%. It's not gonna be 100%, but you should dose based off of that. Chances are it's gonna be 50%. It's kind of like the rule of thumb with some cannabis chefs is like, hey, when you're working with flour, you're gonna get 50% of what the lab test says. But since the lab test doesn't represent the flour, there's no way to know your dose unless you're working with a decarb concentrate or a concentrate that you can decarb accurately, or an infusion where you get a lab test. But let's just say that it is 900 milligrams of CBD and 11 milligrams of THC. So what we would do here is we would take 900 divided by 175 milliliters would give us 5, let's just round, 5 milligrams per milliliter of CBD. Okay, now I'm gonna be totally real with you. 5 milligrams per milliliter of CBD, that's nowhere near that. Even if it's at the 0.3% THC, that low of a dose is not giving you enough of THC for a full spectrum product to be effective, okay? So basically, let's put it this way, per milliliter, think of it this way, there's 5 milliliters in a teaspoon. If we were to take our 22.88, actually 11 milligrams of THC divided by 175, there's 0.06 milligrams of THC per milliliter. It's just not enough for it to do a damn thing. So neither is 5 milligrams per milliliter of CBD. You need a hell of a lot more. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to fortify our infusion. And we're gonna use a 0.001 digital scale. And let me go grab some CBD isolate, okay? So powdered CBD. Ooh, I'm gonna have to go into another room. Hang tight, folks. Hi, bye. Oh my God, my dogs are just, they're doing what I wish I was doing, just napping. Naps galore. All right, I got CBD, CBG. Let's just do CBD. All right, so I have 175 milliliters, which is what I'm basing the dose of. I have 5 milligrams per milliliter of CBD, okay? So what I wanna do is increase this so it's an effective dose. So 175 times 45 is 7,875. Do I want to do that much? 1 to 50 milligrams per milliliter. Let's bring this down to 25. So we got our 5. So 20 times 175 equals 20 times 175 equals. So we're going to do 3.5 grams of CBD isolate. So we're going to turn this on. What I'm doing here is I'm formulating a dose that's going to end up being 25 milligrams of CBD per milliliter, okay? So we're gonna do 3.5 grams of CBD isolate, which is like 99% pure. 2.3, 2.5. Can someone check my math and make sure that I'm not having a total brain fart here? 3, 4. All right, that'll do. Okay. So now, if I have, so I started with 900 divided by 175 is 5.4. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking our 900 plus 3,500 equals divided by 175. 25 milligrams per milliliter, okay? Now this is already hot oil, so this will dissolve easily, super easily, okay? And we're gonna just get that little extra that fell off in there. Here's the thing, you can take a shit ton of CBD. It's not gonna get you high, but it will be effective. We're just gonna let this dissolve. And this oil should be warm enough. And if I need to throw it back in there, then I will. So now what we have is 25 milligrams per milliliter of CBD in this infusion. I think I might have to heat this up a little tiny bit, which is totally fine because we can get our eggs cooking here. So the isolate, you know, you have a fat-soluble cannabinoid, so it dissolves pretty easily. And it doesn't take long. Sometimes even at room temperature, these will dissolve. I'm gonna put it in the oven for a little bit of time, just to bring this to a little bit hotter temp so I can let that fully dissolve. Just set this for like 5 minutes. So this is like one of the nice things about working with concentrates, is you can really dial in and accurately determine what your dose is going to be per milliliter. You can't do this with flour. Now, if I had 5 milligrams per milliliter of THC, that to me, that's a good dose. That's like the perfect dose as far as I'm concerned, because per milliliter, you can put a milliliter on top of a taco or a dish and it's going to work. Or you can put 2 and give a 10 milligram dose. It depends on what you're doing. When it comes to dosing with THC, low and slow is crucial. Okay, so we have everything prepped. I think we're good to go. Letting that dissolve a little bit here. And looks like everyone's just kind of here. Probably like, what the F are you talking about with all this math? Did I just totally like bore the crap out of you guys here with the math stuff? Probably. I'm bored, I'm not gonna lie, but it's one of the necessary evils of making sure that you have a properly dosed infusion, an effective infusion. You gotta know math to be a cannabis chef. Okay, folks, so we got our bacon here. We're gonna kind of make some room on this tray here for some bacon. We got our butter. I'm just gonna take our butter and I'm gonna throw it into our cast iron pan here, just to have it. I've got, what is this? About 3 tablespoons of butter. In order to do these eggs properly, you need to have a good amount of butter, all right? It is a must. Okay, that's good to go. And we're gonna get our bacon, grab a, yeah, this'll do it. Just get that off. I might keep a whole little swirly dirly bacon there. Maybe just put it right onto the taco so it like sticks out on each end. That might look cool, like cool, be cool. I tell you what, I used to be vegan and people were like, oh my God, why? Why aren't you vegan anymore? And I just say, fucking bacon. Effing bacon. All right, that oil is moving around, getting hot again. We're good to go. All right, so this has been, you know, these streams. Here's the deal, if I was cooking this at home, this would have taken 20, 25 minutes of prep time and 10 minutes of cook time. Let's just say 30, 35 minutes from start to finish for just the food. The infusion I already had done, infused, good to go. So don't be intimidated that we're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. This is not how long it takes to do these things, because when I'm home, I'm not talking to my wife like, oh, next Megan, I'm gonna decarb. Let me talk to you about decarb and terpenes. It's just not the way it goes. All right, YouTube, let me know you're alive. Twitch, let me know you all are alive. I think I lost some of you with all that science and math. I hope I did my math right. All right, give me 1 second to refresh my drink here, and then going to, dinner party is over real quick if everyone goes to sleep after eating. Yeah, you wanna make sure you dose people properly, low and slow, folks. And if someone gets 10 milligrams and they're brand new and they're like, I don't feel a damn thing, don't give them any more at all until like the next dinner party, the next time they have an edible experience, because I assure you, they could easily come and kick in later on, or I don't know. Hey Adam, thank you, I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna do another split screen here so you can see what's going on with the eggs. Left counter. So we've got that view, and then we've got oven. Okay. I'm gonna block this shade. Hey, I'm in the middle of streaming. What's up? Yeah, man. I'm telling you, eggs take 3.5 hours to cook. All right, I'll call you when I'm done. All right, bye. That is 1/4 of Trichome Institute, Adam. If anyone's ever submitted a customer service request, it's either me or Adam to deal with it. He's never in any videos or anything. He's behind the scenes tech guy. One of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, by the way. Oh, y'all are over here now. Hey! Okay, so what am I doing? I'm getting my cast iron pan, or use a stainless steel pan at a medium heat to start, okay? Don't get this thing ripping hot. In order for this low and slow creamy scramble style to work, you need low heat and you need a lot of butter and a heat-proof spoon, okay? Chat, you're a little far away right now, but I'll come back and say hi here and there. And what I'm gonna do is just basically get this butter melted, but I don't want it to brown, okay? You can brown it, but for this, all I want it to do is melt to the point where it's like cloudy, not clear and simmering, just enough so it's cloudy, all right? Then the smaller pieces you get, actually the faster it'll melt, but get off of there. Let me, okay, our infusion is good to go. I know you guys were super concerned about it. Whew. Probably not the best way. I should have grabbed a towel. All right, so that's all set. Now, there's two ways that I can infuse this. Let's say in a perfect world that I have a lab test and I know that I have exactly 25 milligrams per milliliter of CBD. See how it's starting to bubble up a little bit? That's totally fine. Even as long as you have enough fat that's going around this pan, hit the sides about halfway up. You have enough fat on there. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put in these eggs, raw, unbeaten, and it's gonna totally cool down the pan. And now it's the fun part. So you're gonna go low and you're going to go slow. Pop all of these yolks. Now notice that the reason you have to do this with enough eggs is because you want some volume, some depth to this. Now, what you're doing is you're gonna adjust your heat accordingly. I'm bringing it back up to medium because I wanna get my pan hot because I just cooled it down. And now with my spoon, you can see how this is already starting to kind of bring the eggs together. I'm slowly scraping the bottom of the pan all over the place. It's bringing the eggs together, but what this is also doing over the course of while this cooks nice and slow is it's going to essentially emulsify that butter into the egg, okay? This is not something I came up with. I never learned this in culinary school. It was a YouTube video of Gordon Ramsay's scrambled eggs. And I've never had eggs like this in my life, and it blew me away. He does it a little differently. He uses a pot and he goes back and forth from on the high heat to off the heat, high heat to off the heat as he needs to control it. So I was like, well, I just want to do this without having to move all over like crazy and basically just be able to keep it in one spot. Now look, see this right here? This is your delicious little egg cheesy, almost like curd, okay? That's what you're looking for. You wanna have tiny ones. So now I'm gonna cut this heat on low. Notice that my eggs are essentially scrambled together already. See those little tiny curds that come off the bottom of the pan? This is why you need to use a stainless steel or a cast iron or like a carbon steel pan, not a non-stick, because you want this little layer of egg to get cooked on the bottom of the pan. I got my heat all the way on low right now because this cast iron holds onto heat. You want this to cook little layers, and then as you go through and scrape, you're pulling off, there's a little one, there's a little one, there's like two combined. And you're going to just keep moving, low heat, and you're going to scrape the bottom nonstop. That's why you need a heat-proof or heat-resistant spoon or a metal spoon, which gets super loud. and you're just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Okay, now, here's the deal. I could easily infuse this right now. I could throw in, because it's such a low temperature, I can even tell you what temperature it's at. 150 degrees. That 155 is when eggs like coagulate and the proteins join, okay? So that temperature is not going to hurt our infusion. But here's the issue. How do I know exactly how much egg I'm gonna be putting on each taco? Now, unless I weighed out what went into it and then what's left over after this moisture evaporates, and I know that, you know, how much THC or CBD or anything I put into here, I could know that, and I would have to weigh out every single taco to estimate the dose. But here's the thing, it's not a homogenized mixture. Even though this is emulsifying the butter and the egg together, I don't have a pure array. So there's no way to know that if I had 5 ounces of egg over here or 5 ounces of egg over there, that they're dosed accurately, okay? So here's the deal. When it comes to being a cannabis chef, serving the public with intoxicating cannabinoids, you need to be able to, all right, so I have this heat on low. This is almost done. It's gonna look shiny. It's gonna almost look like they're undercooked, but they're not. There's so much heat in the pan right now, I'm gonna cut the heat off. And I'm gonna let that ambient heat continue to cook the egg. See the amount of steam coming off of here? That's how you know that you need to cut that heat off and you're good to go. And you've got these tiny little delicate morsels of egg curds in a good way that make this the creamiest, delicious scramble ever. This actually went a little bit faster than what I would even normally do. So I'm gonna leave this alone for a second. I'm gonna salt the eggs, and I'm gonna add one of my favorite ingredients in the world to any type of scramble egg, which is lemon zest. Now here's the deal, let's talk about dosing. As a cannabis chef, unless you're working with a properly homogenized mixture, oh, I broke this thing the other day, damn it. Come on, get with it. Little lemon zest. This will bring these eggs, just a tiny bit, will bring these eggs to an entire other level. And then we're gonna hit this with some salt. I'm salting at the end, okay? And the reason why is because if you add salt in the beginning, it will weaken and loosen the protein of the egg, and they'll be looser and runnier, they'll separate, you'll have watery spots. Just mix this around. And these things are so frickin' delicate. And they almost have a cheesy type of mouthfeel because of that amount of butter that's in there. And there we go, folks. Low and slow scramble, easy breezy. But here's the thing, as I was saying before, see, I might squirrel, but I bring it back. When you're working with dosing accurately, especially with intoxicating cannabinoids, the only way you're gonna know your dose is if you have a homogenized mixture that you've done the math on in science, you have it measured out properly, or if you basically take a syringe, which we're gonna show you here, and you measure out your milliliter or 2 milliliters, whatever it may be, and you dose the food at the very end. They're the only 2 ways you can accurately dose something. Now, edibles galore manufacturing, if they're able to really narrow it down so they're getting 5 milligrams per bite, not very many edibles are doing that. A lot of them are getting tested and there's wild inconsistencies from gummy to gummy or piece of the chocolate bar to piece of the chocolate bar. Now, chocolate bar is different because it's homogenized. It can be done properly. Gummies are supposed to be homogenized. It could be done properly. But I tell you, a lot of places have tested these edibles and they're all over the board. So when it comes to dosing properly, if you're eating for yourself and you just are like, screw it, give me all the THC, I don't care, do your thing. There's so many different ways you can eat it. But in an instance where you're serving the public or even friends or family and you're looking to dose them accurately and you don't have a lab test, well, work with a concentrate to start, because then you're not worrying about extraction efficiency, just decarb. And you can base it off of the lab test of that product, but you can't with flour. So what do we do in this instance? When we're working with a scenario like this with a flour infusion, we fortified it, we don't have the proper, we have no freaking clue what the dose actually is going to be. What do? Well, you work with non-intoxicating cannabinoids to start. That's why I'm using hemp. So let's do a little flipperoo here. Let's bring y'all to the front. and 2. Right about there. Should do the trick. All right. Let's make our taco. It is taco time officially. So, should we go more, I think more industrial for this because I have the right containers for it. This is good. I like it. Yep, I'm digging it. We're gonna use that. Beautiful. All right, so I was gonna use these egg. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to the egg. I just don't feel like I'm just eating super low carb right now. Like I said, getting that bikini body, getting her done. Beautiful. Okay. So again, these are egg tortillas, and they are, where's my knife? No carb. And they're actually pretty good, and they hold up really well with tacos. Some of these like gluten-free, grain-free, even corn tortillas, they just freaking fall apart, and no one wants that. So these things hold on to their, they look a little weird. I'm not gonna be lying about that, but once you get stuff on there, you're good to go. Now I'm gonna put this over an open flame real quickly because it'll just add a little bit of life to the taco. You don't even need to see it, it's not that entertaining. And now we've got our infusion, we've got a syringe, we've got the salsa, our creamy slaw, the crema, we've got our garnishes, bacon, and eggs. We have everything we need to have an amazing taco experience here. I always put my tortillas on a on an open flame. It just brings them to life. You can use a cast iron, but now just a little bit of color, little texture there. I'd say normally I would do 2 tacos serving on a dish like this, but the final, we're gonna put a little, some tortillas on here with a little side of the salsa that we made. It's gonna be quite nice. Okay, so talked about this creamy, I put either, here's the thing, this wasn't this soft before. That the radicchio definitely, so it got soft compared to a purple slaw or any type of slaw, which is fine though. We're gonna make it work. Just gonna put a thin layer on there. There's gonna be plenty of flavor. And this crema, we're gonna just put a tiny little bit because that floral flavor is in there. Whereas if it wasn't as creamy of that because that radicchio got soft, then we would have put a little bit more in there. Now we're gonna throw on, let's throw on our little bacon pieces. I think that looks kind of cool, sticking out, and every little bite is guaranteed to have a piece of bacon, which is kind of fun. And now we're gonna put our low and slow creamy scramble. All right, now we've got some of our salsa, which I'm gonna grab a little spoon here for instead. Now, I could have infused the salsa. It would have been definitely a better thing than infusing the egg. But I would have had to blend that quite a bit to get it totally, completely homogenized, okay? And now we've got some cilantro. And notice how that cilantro, the color, one, it's flavor, linalool forward, okay? That is cilantro, it's delicious. Just that little bit of green right there brought this taco to a whole other world of presentation-wise, like the color, the contrast of colors. Let's bring y'all a little bit. There we go. All right, now, from here we have our scallions. And this is gonna aid with texture, and because of the fact that they were cut on a bias like that and they're long and skinny, it also aids in the presentation. I'm gonna hit this again with a little bit more fresh cracked black pepper. That is a nice looking taco, if you ask me. Now, I did make it. I may be a little biased. And let's see here. Got some grain-free tortilla chips, the Siete brand, which is just sea salt. I'll put a little bit of these on here. And it's like a little cafeteria style tray, barbecue style. Ideally, this tray, if I was like building this for a group of people or for someone else, I would have at least 2 tacos on here, just so you know. And then we can take our salsa, have a little side. Now, there are 2 ways right now that I could infuse this dish. I talked earlier about taking our dose and just putting a drizzle on top the taco. That would work perfectly. The taco is already soft. You know, it's got the slaw in there, the crema, the eggs. The bacon has got the most body to it. I love a messy taco. Wide elbow, wide stance, get her done. I could also individually infuse the salsa now. Even if it's not properly homogenized, I can take, just like they do in the movies, more than what you need. Oop. Get the air bubble out of there. More than what you need. Bring it down to your 1 milliliter. Boy, I'm all sorts out. There we go. Bring it down to your 1 milliliter. And now I can take this infusion, which is 50 milligrams of CBD and something like 0.06 milligrams of THC, and I can put this right into the salsa. It's individually dosed. So from a perspective with your guest, what I would say, first of all, you want to stir it in there a little bit. Now, I could say to my guest, in your salsa, we'll hit this with a little bit of cilantro, nice little garnish there. In this plating, you have 50 milligrams total of CBD. And in order to get all of that, what you need to do is eat the entire amount of salsa. And just so you know, if you cut that in half, it doesn't mean you'll get half the dose because it was individually served for you, so you need to eat it all. Now, someone might see that much salsa and be like, well, shit, I don't want to eat that much salsa. Then you could say, well, I could infuse the taco. Or you would just infuse the taco, and that's assuming they would eat the whole thing. When you're dealing with any chunky anything, you have to get people to understand that cutting it in half doesn't mean they're getting half the dose. Because I could easily squirt this willy-nilly and not kind of disperse it throughout. And if it were THC, there could be 5 or 10 milligrams in that first bite, or 5 milligrams in the first bite, and they only eat half, or they only eat 1 bite and they get it all, or however it is. It's just not accurately dosed. So consider dosing. Always, 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 even if it's just for a friend. All right, so let me get a couple photos of this for the gram. Andre, I appreciate you joining. Adam, good to have you. You know, you're on the other day. Now you need to discuss. Now you need a side of torch cheese queso, and you're all set. Oh my God, deuces. Yes, torch cheese queso is like the most amazing thing. I was talking about that on the stream the other day. Actually, we just had some recently. All right, so let me get a couple photos here for the gram. It's bad lighting from this angle. I think I'm gonna take, hang tight folks. Oops. I am taking this other light that I have here so I can get a little better of a shot. All about the gram. Well, you guys get to look at a taco. All right, so here's the deal. Anonymous Gypsy, welcome. Not sure if you've been here for a while or just joining, but hey, we're wrapping up, but oh no. I thought this was charged. What the hell? That's weird. This should have been charging the entire time. Oh well, I guess it's only gonna work if it's plugged into this, which I may be able to pull through. Hang tight, folks, gotta get a good photo. The things we do for the gram. Ooh, that is so much better. Kind of want to get right up. There we go. All right, I'm good to go. Thanks for your understanding there. Okay, folks, so infused salsa taco is not infused in this case. Let's bring y'all over to, let's start here. And split screen, this one. Bring here, this one, HDMI in, okay. And I gotta zoom back in. You guys never reminded me to zoom back in, you jerks. There we go. All right, let's get this cleared out. Make this look a little bit nice for the final. I'm gonna be honest with you. I told you, I'm always honest with critiquing my food. Ooh, I forgot the cheese. I don't think I need it. I think there's enough creaminess on there. We're good to go. All right, so I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna tell you what I think. I'm gonna critique it. I'm gonna tell you what I would do differently, if anything. And go from there. Napkin. Gotta have a napkin. Napkins, should I say. All right, let's do this, folks. We're wrapping up here. Y'all have been awesome. Here we go. I'm more interested in the taco. Now you can see for this egg tortilla, it holds up pretty well. It's pretty nice. Diving in. Okay, so first thing, right off the bat, I gotta cut the bacon up and lay it on. I grabbed the piece with some fat and it wouldn't pull. I can't stand it when you bite into a taco and you can't just get what you get and then bite away. When things are just dragging, and not a fan. That's a simple, quick fix though. Now let's talk about the way it tastes. Frickin' awesome. Every bite of a taco is kind of different based off of what hits your tongue first. I've noticed that. I got the bacon right away. There's the linalool, and it's beautiful. I put 2 drops in that. I probably could have gotten away with getting just 1, but the 2 is fine because I love that. Actually, it is fine. The slaw, the tang from the mayo is good. Let's see what happens next. That cilantro, fresh scallion. This is not very spicy, like not super spicy at all. I'm surprised. I would actually want a little bit more spice. Let's get some of that salsa on there. Again, the bacon, you can see I was kind of pulling with that. So the little swirly bacon thing is really cool to like pick up and eat by itself, but I would, if you're gonna do this when you cook it, for those of you who don't know, literally we swirled bacon around, okay? And it's awesome by itself, but in a taco, it would have to be crispier so it crunches and breaks, or just do a rough chop so you're getting a little bite here and there. This is awesome. Let's try it now with the more salsa on there. The limonene from the lemon zest and the eggs shines through. The texture, I thought it was gonna like fall apart, like it'd be super drippy. It's not. It's quite nice. The radicchio, I would not do as a creamy mayo because it just like sogged it down. It's not as firm of a vegetable as like actual cabbage or, you know, green cabbage, purple cabbage. So that's just something like, God, I can't tell you that if I've ever bought radicchio. I've had it plenty of times out, but I'd never cooked with it. Probably in culinary school in a salad or something, but so it's not as firm body, it doesn't hold up. So I would do a very light vinegar or a dressing of sorts that's light on there to use it as a slaw, or just stick to the purple cabbage like I originally had in the ingredients. And then we're gonna hit the back end here. So there's the spice from the salsa. The salsa is fantastic. The tomato shines through, the jalapeno, it's there. It's there in the very back top of my throat, but it's not permeating my whole mouth, making me like, oh my God, this is super spicy. But that, the bacon, the salt, there's crisp, there's tang, there's that floral aspect coming through. And even if this were on a flour tortilla, it'd be so much better because you get that just baked type of flavor, especially if you put it on a sear at first. The bacon, the texture is awesome. I'm sold. Cooked it twice, never bought it again. The other radicchio, I think it tastes fine, but it didn't. The body it's too. It's not as firm as a regular. This is too much salsa to give one person to infuse. So I should have thought about that before. I don't know. I think no, I could easily down all of this. So, okay, what would I have done differently? As delicious as these little swirly baking things are that I love, I would have either had to crisp them up longer, cook them longer to get them crispier so they're like hard. That would be one option, or rough chop them in little half-inch to inch-long pieces, and snoozer song, and you'll be good to go. So there's two options with the bacon. I would have been fine with either one, because I mean, I love bacon that's super crispy, but because of them being swirled, it's almost like thick cut bacon where it's, like I said earlier, it's got that little bounce, a little chew to it that I like. So that's the first thing I would have changed, was the bacon. I thought I was gonna have to say 2 drops of linalool in there was too much. These terpenes are potent, but that honestly is was perfect. So that was a thought earlier as I was going through, not a thought now. So bacon it so far. Next thing, I would have used regular cabbage and just bit the bullet and bought some. As you can see, this has gotten very, very soft using the radicchio. And so if I were to do the creamy base, which the flavor was fantastic, as is, swap out, use regular purple or green cabbage. Even Napa cabbage would have been fine, towards the base end. Or if you're gonna use the radicchio, you want to do a vinegar base type of slaw. So that I would have changed. Now, in the sense of the infusion, the only thing I would have changed with this, I would have looked at this and said, okay, this is kind of like an app entree, so, you know, or app side. Infusing the salsa here, I mean, yeah. I easily could down that whole thing. Easily. Such a nice spice there. It's cooled down, so make sure you salt. If you're serving something cold, make sure the salt level in it while it's cold is what it's intended, because as things get cooler, it tastes like there's less salt. I don't know why, it just is what it is. But I totally would have been okay with infusing this, but I think best thing would have been to infuse that taco. So had I not had that softer slaw and it was firmer, and putting that milliliter on there of the oil, that would have been totally fine. Where do I source my linalool? Abstracts. Abstracts text. or you can order through the Trichome Institute. And if y'all want to order anything in your cart, use the code CHEF, you get 15% off. There's linalool in our aromatic training kit here, which is more terpening based, but there's enough in there to last you a bit because you're only adding a couple drops at a time. If you want to get the big bottles directly from Abstracts, ABSTRAX tech.com. They're partners of ours doing some research projects together. All right, folks, it's time to get some shit away for free. Want to make sure that everyone is paying attention. Did I end up doing the crema? Adam, I actually, I did, yes. I did the crema. I decided it's just a little sour cream, cilantro, a little bit of linalool, black pepper, and salt. Simple, super simple. Okay, everyone paying attention? I already gave away one Cooking with Cannabis course to McDots. You won. Anyone who's listening, we're gonna give away the Magical Butter Filter Press, okay? This is for the Magical Butter Filter Press, okay? So this goes right onto the ball jar. You guys saw it earlier. Strains everything through, you plunge it, gets all your oil out, so you've got an awesome infusion that has like everything that you need. I don't even know how much this is yet because it's brand new. They don't have it in their shop. They're officially launching it $420. You may be able to get it sooner than that if you win this, but I don't know. But sometime between now and the end of April, whoever the winner is will get the new Magical Butter Filter Press. So, what is my recommended, not based off of the science, but based off of the temperature and time that I recommend decarbing cannabis in? You can just say the temperature and the time, temp/time. I don't care how you write it. What is the temperature and the time? First person that I see pop up between the two chats, whoever it is going to be the winner of the new Magical Butter Press. I know there's a delay. I know there's a delay. Dr. Deuces Seuss's, nope. Oh, McDots, you're so close. You're so close. Got a little dyslexia happening there. Those of you on YouTube can't see Twitch. So that's why I got two people. Come on, what is the temperature and time? Adam, over on YouTube, I believe, 30 minutes for 270, at 270 degrees. You, my friend, are the winner of the new Magical Butter Filter Press. Congratulations. Adam, I need you, I think you messaged me on Instagram. I need you to go to trichomeinstitute.com. Go to the bottom right to the little chat bot there. It'll ask for your name and email and just say on there, hey Brandon, I won the Magical Butter Filter Press, and I will hook you up. Okay. McDots, you answered my next question, but you already won the course and you already put it out there, so we're gonna skip that one. So McDots, you said 266 for 30 degrees. 266 is what the original scientists said to do. I recommend 270 for 30 minutes. A little extra because most people can't set their oven or anything at 266, and that little extra just to kind of compensate for not having a perfect oven setting, okay? So keep that in mind. So recommended time for decarbing flower, whether it's marijuana or hemp, would be 270 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. Adam, good job. Don't forget to message the BudBot. McDots, don't forget to message the BudBot because you won a Cooking with Cannabis course, which I'm gonna give away another one right now. I already asked a question. Okay, this one's a little bit more challenging, okay? Everyone be paying attention. For access to the Cooking with Cannabis online course that we just launched in partnership with the American Culinary Federation, you get a certificate from both Trichome and the ACF. You get 8 continuing education hours by the ACF, whether you're a member or not. 6 hours of video content, about 2 hours of supplemental reading, and you will learn the science of cooking with cannabis. Join these streams to learn different cooking things. But for this course, it is science frickin' heavy, okay? It's the most advanced course that we have. Ready? Here's the question. There may be more than 3 things that I mentioned, but there are 3 primary things that make terpenes nearly irrelevant when working with an edible. There are 3 things that I listed that happen so that by the time those terpenes are, let's say, into your bloodstream, so to speak, that they don't do the same thing as they would through inhalation. There are 3 things that I primarily mention. If you mention all 3 or you mention another one that might work, I'll let it slide. 3 things that I mentioned that happen to terpenes when you are making an edible that nearly make them irrelevant. This is a tough one, folks. I'll be impressed if someone gets bam, bam, bam. And if they're at the end, there's only if there's like someone only has 2, I'll give another hint. We'll get you there. So what are the 3 things that happen to terpenes that make them nearly irrelevant when we're talking about making an edible? What are they? Just gonna get down to this music here while you guys are going through your notes, scratching your head, scratching your butts, whatever you're scratching to get your brain working. I'm so glad I made extra bacon. Ooh, this is a tough one. The pressure's on. Three things. Put them all in one message, it would be helpful. Ooh. McDots, I think you know this one, but you already won. I have faith. Actually, I don't know if you caught the beginning of that or not. Adam, I believe you did. Deuces Seuces. Okay, Autonomous Gypsy. You're very close. Ooh. Over there on YouTube, you guys are having at it. Having at it. You're both... Adam, you said 2 things there, but really only one of them applies because loss is implied, okay? Gypsy, heat, digestion, handling retail temperature, too much light. You said 2 things that are acceptable. Let's just say that, oh, you're so close. You're so freaking close. Okay, so I'm gonna give it another like 30 seconds and then I'm gonna explain the process. So the chewing, the stomach acid, and when it hits the kidney. Ion Zodad, you have one thing definite, and then you have another thing, you just have the wrong organ. So you're like you're close. Acid, heat, heat is a part of it. I think that's a given. We'll say heat is a part of it. So you guys are all very, very close, very close. Come on, you got this. You got it. Three things that happen to terpenes that make them near irrelevant when we're talking about edibles in the sense of how they affect you compared to inhalation. There are 3 things. Adam, digestion, bioavailability, and heat loss. Okay, Adam, I'm gonna have to give it to you. And because what you're explaining, I said I would take another answer. Adam, you're the winner. This is why. So first you said digestion. Digestion in the sense of what your stomach is going to do to these terpenes. It destroys a lot of them. It actually turns like the original terpene compound into different derivatives from there. Okay, so, and it destroys a lot of them. Okay, so digestion or just stomach acid. Okay, I would take them both. Next thing you said was bioavailability. Bioavailability, yes, has a lot to do with it, and that happens in the liver. It happens all throughout, but the liver is what is then metabolizing these terpenes and then puts them into the bloodstream, okay? And how they get there, the amount that comes matters. If you take a milliliter of a direct terpene bomb to the gizzard, it's gonna taste terrible. That doesn't mean you're getting that much that's going to be throughout your body. It has a very low bioavailability. And then you said heat loss. Heat loss is decarbing, okay? When you are decarbing terpenes, ooh, I just spit. When you're decarbing terpenes, if you can smell them, they're leaving the building. They're leaving the trichomes. And they're not being immediately inhaled directly like you're smoking a bowl. It's immediate. You light, you inhale, boom, it's in your lungs in no time. These terpenes are all through the oven, they're all throughout. That's maybe a little aromatherapy, but has nothing to do with the edible. By the time you are done with your container of decarb flower, it goes from smelling like beautiful weed to like a stale sugar cookie. And it's because those terpenes are gone. What I would encourage you to do, if you guys don't necessarily believe me with this, is to, you know, buy an, I don't know, a 1/4 ounce of flour, a 1/2 ounce of flour, and decarb a little bit of it, and then take that fresh and smell the difference. It's night and day. It's like parallel dimensions in the sense of the way that they, or not parallel, opposite, different dimensions in the sense of the way they smell. Okay, and then yeah, I think that covers it. So yes, the answer, if the perfect answer would have been stomach acid, or so heat from decarb, your stomach acid, and the liver. Okay, so they're the things. Heat, stomach, and liver would be the 3 ideal things. Adam, congratulations. I know you were excited on here the other day when you were talking about you know, wanting to take the course. So I'm glad that you won, glad you paid attention, and we're taking notes. And I know a lot of y'all who are hanging out were paying attention. That's that. So awesome. Adam, I need you to go to, actually shit, Adam, did you win both? You won the course and the magical butter press, right? Well, shit, you're good to go. All right, so here's the thing. I want to make sure everyone here does not leave empty-handed. So we have a course called Cannabis for All. It is kind of like a beginner course, but it's not the beginner 101 crap you're gonna see on YouTube. We get into some science, but it's very digestible. It's not over the head. It's a super casual, laid-back course, fun animations. We're making fun of each other. We're just like, you know, dressed down. I want everyone who's paying attention and watching right now, if you want access to Cannabis for All for free, then I want you to go to trichomeinstitute.com, TRICHOME institute.com. For Twitch, that's my bio link. And for YouTube, if someone wants to paste that in, anyway, trichomeinstitute.com. You're gonna go there. At any point of the site, on the bottom right, you'll see our little bud bot. I want you to click that. You're gonna enter your name and your email, and you're gonna say, hey, Brandon, I want Cannabis for All. Even if you already won something, which Adam, you won 2 things, and McDots, you got a course. So we gave away 2 Cooking with Cannabis courses. We gave away a new magical butter filter press, which is super cool. And if I didn't like it, I would tell you. I love magical butter. I love these guys. They're, excuse you, they're like from the very foundation of me becoming a cannabis chef. They've been involved. They hosted the High Times Cooking with Cannabis the High Times Top Cannabis Chef competition that I won, and that's when I first met them. So love these guys. If I didn't like this, though, I would tell you, because I don't F around. I'm honest. I don't want people working with crap that doesn't really do anything. This is effective, and I like it a lot. So I highly recommend it, and I'm glad that they came out with it. So Adam, congratulations on winning this. Congratulations on winning a Cooking with Cannabis course. McDots, congrats, awesome. Autonomous Gypsy, we're so close, but you get Cannabis for All, and anyone else who wants Cannabis for All. Okay, I have said many words today, and I am ready to, wow, 3 o'clock, 3-hour stream, not bad, not bad. I'm gonna go take my dogs for a walk. Well, I'm gonna clean up this kitchen first. Take my dogs for a walk and just like chill. And also connect with you guys to make sure you get access to your courses and stuff like that. Adam, you won this, so I'll remember. I just need your name and email, and I'll connect you with the Magical Butter crew. So, okay, I'm gonna be trying to do this once a week, or at least every other week, depending on my schedule. If you are a subscriber to trichomeinstitute.com, subscriber to our newsletter, you will get notified a couple days in advance of what time I'm gonna be streaming, and what the recipe will be, and what ingredients to get so you can cook along at home. Now, I realize 3 hours in the middle of the day on Friday might not work for everyone, but You get access as a subscriber to know when it's happening and cook along, but you can always watch the videos later because they will be hosted on YouTube afterwards. So that's that. Woo! I think I'm done. You guys have a fantastic Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Hope you get a little elevated and just life is grand. So I'm Chef Brandon. Thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it. See y'all later. Oh, that was a bad ending. I'm Chef Brandon Allen. Take care, y'all. That was terrible too.